Good morning, everybody. Welcome to season two, episode three of Sketchat. Today we have special guest Frankie B. Washington.
Hey everybody, what's going on?
Welcome.
So today we're going to be drawing kaiju's.
Or,
That's
or something close to that.
Frankie B. Washington special.
Yes, yes. It looks like I'm getting known for that, which I am very happy to have that title.
So how did that get started for you, man?
Oh boy. Well, I mean, I started drawing when I was a little kid, and for me, when I think of little, I want to say preteen.
Okay.
I just remember, or I get glimpses of my memories of my mom going shopping, and then she would come home with the brown paper bag, and she would tear pieces. She would tear it apart and then hand it to me while I have my pencil, and I just start drawing. And I always had a very active imagination. I would, always thinking of crazy stuff. I love monsters. That was another thing, which she thought was kind of weird at the time. But I kind of, she just let me draw my thing. I looked at monsters not in the sense of horror, but more in the sense of just being these misunderstood creatures or circumstances. Clearly, there are monsters who are just like they just go out the straight malevolent, evil kind of thing. But then there's monsters like Frankenstein monster, where you kind of
Right.
feel for them. You go, man, or like for me, I love werewolves. So the Wolfman with Lon Chaney, that was a movie where you saw the anguish in this guy's face, where he had no control over what he was becoming.
Right.
And
He's more of a
so
victim.
exactly, and so those kind of monsters were the ones that I sort of appealed to. And then came Godzilla, and I remember the original 1950s movie where even though Godzilla came up out of the ocean and did destruction, there was still this sort of sadness for this creature who kind of was like coming back into this world, been mutated by the radiation of mankind or humanity, and then is lashing out at humanity for doing what it did to it, and then in the end, it's destroyed. So
Right.
there's sort of like this sadness about this great creature, and then once that started happening, I would say, boy, for me, I, from the 70s into the 80s, that was a great period, I'd say, in comic books because that's when you start seeing a lot of stuff, even in animation and stuff like you just start seeing all kind of crazy stuff coming on, and I started getting seeing a lot of stuff that was like anime, especially anime with giant robots. Some of the giant robots were the Shogun Warriors, and then I would say that was the real turning point for me was when my mom took me to a toy store, a very popular toy store. I grew up in, by the way, I grew up in Massachusetts, well, actually Boston, and I remember my mom taking me to Child World, which was located in Dedham, Mass. And I remember going through the doors, and I forgot why we were going to Child World. I don't know. It could have been at the time of GI Joe or whatever coming out, but I remember seeing a comic book of the Shogun Warriors. It was like a pack of 10 comic books for like $5,
Nice.
and
Oh,
the Shogun Warrior. I know, hell, well, I know 10 comic books for $5, and so I remember getting it and just seeing the Shogun Warriors, the artwork by Herb Trimpe, story by Doug Munich, and that captivated me. It blew my mind away that the fact that this was Marvel Comics, a Western comic book company, doing these giant robots, which were predominantly a Japanese kind of
Right.
trope, and so that changed my life. I remember she got it. I was like begging her, please, oh God, please. And then she got them for me, and then I was pulled in. I was like, I want to do this. I want to be able to draw and do robots, and I want to do monsters. But the funny part was that as a kid, my imagination was all over the place. So it wasn't just like the fact I just wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be like a robotic engineer. I wanted to build a giant robot. I had, when kids, you have all kind of crazy ideas. Like I was like, yeah, I want to be
Right.
in the Air Force. I want to fly. How am I learning how to fly a robot if I'm not in the Air Force? Or how am I build it if I'm not an engineer? And of course, my grades sucked in math, so that wasn't happening. So so pretty much it was eventually through the years going through high school and stuff like that. I had a lot of great mentors, a lot of people who believed in me and believed in my natural abilities. Like I was always a good student. Math I wasn't as strong, but everything else like I did really well. Science, English, um, a lot of creative stuff. And they started seeing that, and they said, you know what, we want to put this kid into some programs. And so they started putting me into some programs that were available at the time, especially in the 80s. Like I ended up graduating in 88. So I was 18 years old. So my point in high school, I was doing all kind of different programs. They had me in programs where like I would go to art schools, and for like a Saturday program, go to art school and get to hang out with other kids that were very creative, and then they had me in another special program that was like a half day at my regular school, high school, and then half day at this special program that only focused in commercial illustration. So it was those kind of things. And then once I did that program and I was about to graduate, I remember they called me and they said, "Well, Mr. Washington." I was like, "Yeah." I was all scared. You know, you're a kid. I
Right.
was like, "What?" You know, you go through your head. You're like, "What did I do wrong?" Because
Right.
I'm not gonna lie, I was mischievous. I did a lot of crazy stuff. But we'll save that for another day. But I was scared, man. I said, "Oh, what did I do?" I'm going through my head like, "What did I do, dude? What did I?" And they said, "Come on." And I went to this room, and it was all these adults, and they just stared at me, and they were like, "Well," and they said, "Well, do you know why you're here?" And I said, "Nope, I don't know." I was, I was ready to deny everything. Like I didn't do nothing. You didn't see me. The person don't know me. That kind of thing. I was about to do my
Right.
whole riff, and then they said, "Well, Mr. Washington, you're one of our scholars, and we got a scholarship for you, and you can go to the scholarship is going to help you go to any kind of art school. You just got to find art school, and then the scholarship will go in effect." And I was like, "What?" And I had no idea that my teachers had put my name into this program and that I had
That's
actually gotten a
awesome.
scholarship. And so at that point, I just was like, "Man, what am I going to do?" So I actually started getting notifications, and one of the notifications came from the what's it, the Joe Kubert School in New Jersey. They contacted me, and
Wow.
I was like,
That's awesome.
"Ooh." I said, "That's comic books," and I said, "Huh, I love comics, but I didn't want to leave Massachusetts. I was scared. I'll admit, I was scared. I didn't want to leave. There was no friends, family, that kind of thing, and I just was like, I don't know. I said, let me look at my other options, and then there was Mass College of Art, and Mass College of Art is good, but it's more like teachers if you want to be academic. And I was
Gotcha.
like,
Yeah.
And then another school, I went in for an interview, and they were more architectural, and I was like, I'm not an architect. And so finally, the last school that contacted me was a school called Butera School of Art, and Butera used to be located on Beacon Street, downtown Boston, and it was a small school. It was like one of those old brownstones converted into a school. And I remember, I said, okay, I'll go check it out, and I went in, and I'll never forget how like they looked at my stuff, and I did, I had the standard stuff, still life stuff. I think I drew a picture of my duffel bag. It was like all like I forgot what I used. I think I used charcoal and stuff like that. Life drawing, that kind of stuff,
Right.
and then a couple of comic book stuff. And then I remember they looked at my images. I guess I should stop drawing something.
No,
I'm
you're fine.
working my hands, and so they started. They sat me down and they said, okay, they looked at my stuff, and then the reviewer said, well, they said they clearly can draw, but we want to make sure you understand that we're all working artists here, and that this is what the school's about. This school is about artists, about teaching artists, taking you and thinking of you as like a lump of clay or rock, a lump of rock, and then we're sculpting away all that excess stuff that you don't need, so that the real sculpture can come out, and that's going to be your real skill. And in that
Nice.
skill, you're here to learn how to survive as a commercial artist, and this is the key word, the art industry. And I never forget that. I remember that was like a very strong way they emphasized. They said, we are looking to educate you to have a career in the art industry. And I was like, wow, art industry. So before, when I came in with my comic book pages, the comic book industry to them was just one small little, it was an aspect of
Right.
something bigger. And they were there to teach me that to keep my eyes looking more for the bigger thing. That because that's the only way an artist can truly survive, if you're doing multiple things and that are in the bigger scheme of it, and that would be the art industry. So yeah, so I decided to go with Butera School of Art, and it was a 3 year school, and I ended up getting my diploma or whatever in commercial illustration. And it really focused on a lot of stuff. Like a lot of my teachers worked in advertising. A lot of my teachers did stuff in newspapers. They did just a bunch of different things. They were all across the board. Some gaming art. It was just all across the board. None of them were doing comic book stuff though, but it was mostly like other things in the industry. And when I left and when I graduated, I kind of was like, and at the time also, let me just say, I've always worked my whole life. I think I started working when I was 12, and I never stopped working. So I did all kind of jobs and stuff. But when I was going to art school and I was putting myself through school, I was working as a security guard. I did a lot of security guard work, and I was at that point in my security job career where my supervisors or my captains were asking me whether or not I was thinking about committing to it, because they were like, "You're a good worker, and you're somebody who gets into it and you're very dedicated. What are your thoughts?" And I'll never forget my captain, who at the time he was a really good friend and stuff. He just sort of looked at me and he said, "Frank," he's like, "I see you and you do your patrols and stuff like that, but you're always drawing." And he said, "I'm being honest with you. Why did you go to art school?" And I was like,
Wow.
"Huh?" Yeah. And he said, "Why?" He said, "Why?" He said, "What? Why did you do that? Is it a waste of time or whatever?" He said, "You know what you're supposed to be doing. You need to be doing that."
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, like I said, I feel for many artists out there who don't have that,
Right.
who have never experienced that. I think at that time when in my 20s, I had a chip on my shoulder. I had a temper and all that stuff. But there was also a part of me where I knew when to just be quiet and listen. And when anytime somebody offered some kind of idea, suggestions or whatever, they would seep in. I would let them seep in. If it was stuff I didn't really need, of course, I would just put that aside. But there was always a nugget here and there where I would pick up something and go, that'll work. That makes sense. And even though I had my young pride and all that stuff, once you start getting out there, you start looking at the reality of it. You go, that pride is not going to put food on your table.
Mm.
That pride is not going to put clothes on your back. That pride is not going to put a roof over your head. So you got to come to an understanding, and I had to come to an understanding. And so once I came to that understanding, especially with security, then I made a decision to go all out on with art. And I just said, I said from this point on, I need to make money doing artwork. And that's it. And then from that point, I think my first gig. Well, I had a couple other gigs beforehand. I went through I got my sad stories. I went through all the working for supposed comic book people, publishers, and then nothing went anywhere. I didn't get paid. I went through having rejection. I got tons of rejection letters from, I think, Image, DC, Marvel. I believe.
Oh,
Hello? Yeah.
we lost you, Frankie.
Oh, hold on a second. Oh man, Oh, my voice.
There you go.
Nope. I'm invested, Frankie. You can't leave us.
Hello,
There you are.
hello, guys. Can you see me?
Yeah, you're back. Yeah, I can see you.
Nope. There you go.
Oh. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey guys, can you see me?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir, we can.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
No. Cutting out.
You dropped out again. There you are.
I can see you, but I can't hear you.
He muted himself. There you go.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. Well, Frankie deals with that. Justin, what kind of kaiju are you going to be drawing today?
I think I'm going to draw like a big alien bug sea creature thing. I haven't quite decided yet. For the longest time, I just thought maybe I'd draw Clifford the Big Red Dog. Technically, he's a kaiju.
Very true.
So that's kind of what I'm working on. I'm establishing the background first so I can play with like the space of the monster later. Also, it gives me some time to think about what kind of monster I'm going to draw.
Right.
Let me just see here. Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yep.
Yeah.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Oh man, this is so weird.
All right.
Mm-mm.
All right. Man, it was just getting good, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I got invested in the story. I need the end of that anecdote.
All right. Frankie stepped away momentarily. He'll be back. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do like a fishman kaiju kind of Lovecraftian creature.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, here we go.
You back? Yeah.
Yep.
Why is it doing voice control? Yeah, I'm having some problems over here.
Do you need a do you need to work on it for a minute and then get back to us, or
Automatically echo cancellation.
Maybe.
Hello?
can you hear us?
Hello.
I can hear you, Frankie. I don't know if you can hear
Can you
us.
hear me? Yeah, yeah. It's like it's something that just keeps put me off.
Oop.
Oh, we lost him again.
Yeah. Hmm. That's weird. He was doing fine.
Yeah, yeah. Alrighty.
Oh, I saw Archive 81, by the way. I don't know if I told you that.
No, you didn't. How'd you like it?
I liked it. It's like the first 3, 4 episodes are especially creepy.
Did you watch all the episodes? Is it 8?
Yeah.
Or 6 episodes?
There's either 7 or 8 episodes, yeah. I think Netflix usually does like 7 or 8, something like that.
I know it's a given number. It's either 6 or 8. I just can't remember.
Okay, so yeah, it's probably 8 then.
Yeah. So did you enjoy it?
I did. I liked it. Like I said, pretty creepy.
Good use of sound like throughout, and the score, the soundtrack. It was just really nice.
Yeah, the soundtrack was really good. I liked Joy Division. she was using Joy Division at the end. Yeah, that's another thing I was gonna bring up was the tones that they use. There's specific tones that you can use to like psychologically enhance the tension in the scene.
Oh man.
There we are, Frankie.
I don't even know, guys. I don't even know what's going on. This is so weird. It's like a voiceover thing activated, and I'm like freaking out. I'm going. I don't have Siri on,
Whoa.
and it just activated, and so it keeps coming off and on my phone, and I'm like, oh, dude. So okay, all right. Maybe it's telling me it's like more drawing, less talking. I like to apologies to the chat, to the people out there. It's just technology.
Right. It happens.
Oh man, so sorry, man.
No, it's all good.
It happens.
That's so weird. Has that ever happened to you guys or anything where you just like filming and all of a sudden it's like, Murphy's Law kicks in?
Right. Yeah, it happens often.
Oh, so anyway.
Yeah, you were telling us about your security guard. Was it your boss that asked you?
Yeah, well, yeah, he was like my captain and stuff, and then pretty much he just gave me the word of wisdom. Where he just said, Frank, just follow your dreams, pretty much. He's like, you went to art school, so you need to be an artist, pretty much. Don't be a security guard, or whatever. Because I mean, my next level would have been me trying to go to become an armed security officer, and if I did that, it wouldn't have been because I would have loved doing it. It would have been me just, I don't know, trying to do something
do a
else.
job. Yeah.
Exactly. There you go. And I'm glad I did. But again, that's those voices that are out there. Those voices of wisdom that are out there.
Right.
People who are watching out, who offer that. They say that, hey, look, you gotta go ahead and do this. You gotta take the leap, and it is scary because I was working a 9 to 5, that kind of thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna become a freelancer. you
Right.
know, it
It's
is
scary,
it's
man.
it is scary. It's very terrifying. But you know what? That's life. It's so funny. I've had a lot of mentors in my life, and I'm one of those kind of people where I do a lot of introspective thought and stuff like that. And there's times where I'll when I would go outside and whatever, and if I'm going on a run or whatever, and I'll look over and I'll see a squirrel, and the squirrel will have some food, and I'll sit there and go, what are my worries? This little squirrel is just trying to get across the street to get that
Right.
nut.
Right.
what am I worrying about? It's little things like that where I think that I see those things and I put them into perspective and I go, you know what? I got to make this happen.
Right.
So from that point, I just went all in. I just was like, I'm a freelance. I'm gonna be a freelance illustrator. And as time went on, I just a lot of various opportunities kicked in for me. And I was when I was in my 20s, I jumped at a lot of stuff. I mean, you have to. I always look at the because now I'm gonna be turning 52 by the way this year.
Oh wow.
And I know, huh? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
A lot of people go, "Wow, 52." I'm like, "Yeah, dude. I've been in the game. I've been out there." And when I was in my 20s, I was a hardcore hustler, man. I mean, I no sleep, lots of coffee, and I was every job you can think of, I was jumping on. But the biggest asset that I had, excuse me, just took a little swig of coffee. The biggest asset I had was speed. I was a very fast artist. That's by their standards. They were like, oh yeah, and my quality of work. I feel like my work now is much more quality based, more stronger quality than how I used to. Because when I was doing work in advertising for advertising gigs, storyboards and stuff like that, um, they're not. You're not dealing with a clientele that's like comic books. Like comic books to me is finished art, and
Mhm.
you definitely got to spend some time on it to make it look really sharp, really nice, because you're selling an actual finished product. Whereas in advertising, you're trying to sell a concept to a client, a very wealthy client, big time client, um, who may be looking to get some TV ads done or whatever. So you're trying to do artwork that will sell a concept, and
Right.
it has to look good. It has. I mean, there's no point about it. It has to look good, but as long as it's readable and stuff like that, then they can get the gist of it. Then you're good. But doing comic books or doing novels, doing illustrations for novels, that kind of stuff, you have to come with a more kind of more finished art kind of style. So yeah, let me get this leg. So yeah, so pretty much yeah. Another thing about me too, I would say, is I remember I used to talk with other artists, and I was so adamant about having a portfolio that was very eclectic. I remember when I think I looked up the word eclectic in a dictionary to find out, because I remember hearing it and then I was like, oh, let me look that up. And I was like very fascinated. Sometimes I do that. If somebody says something, they'll say a word. I go, oh, let me look that up. And I
Right.
said, yeah, man. I said, I want to have a portfolio where when people look at it, they almost feel like that one person couldn't have done it.
Right.
And I always wanted to, since you're working as a commercial illustrator, I always wanted to make myself or my artwork in my portfolio be so open to any client that any client to look at it and be like, well, yeah, we could use you, or that kind of, it was like those kind of things. So when I was, in my 20s and going into my 30s, I really focused on trying to get as much diverse or eclectic kind of assignments. Like, so for instance, would be like, I did work in an animation studio. I was doing work for Olive Jar Animation. They're closed now, but they did a lot of stuff. They did some stuff. I think they did some MTV stuff back in the day when MTV was doing music stuff. They did
Yeah.
that, and then they
That was a long time ago.
that was a long time ago. Yeah, that's when I was. They brought me in to do some concept art. Originally, it was keyframes and concept art for. I don't know if you guys know Fruit by Roll Up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
Fruit
doing it.
Ninjas?
Yeah, Fruit by Roll Up. They were doing an ad for Fruit by Roll Up, and it was at Olive Jar Animation. They did a lot of stop motion stuff. They also did 2D animation, but a lot of stop motion stuff. And so they brought me in to do some concept stuff, environmental kind of stuff, so that their sculptors could take it and then give it a couple hours. They come back with an actual diorama of what I drew, that kind of thing, so it can help the people filming it get an idea of how the scene was going to look. And I was like, cool, I can do that. And
Yeah.
then also storyboards. So it was more like concept artists and then storyboard artists. And that was my first time really being surrounded by a lot of really talented artists. I mean, it was mind blowing the level of artists that like animators and stuff like that. Whew, it was staggering. I've always been a kind of artist who I don't know. I never got jealous of other artists. I would be more enamored by them. Like I would see their work and I'd be like, wow, that looks really good, and then I would be like, ooh, I got to get my game up.
Right. Yeah.
It's always that's what I mean. Like for me, it wasn't like I look at somebody and be like, oh man, that's yeah, oh, he's so good and all that. It was never that. It's just more like, wow, look what they did right there, like cross hatching and how they did those, the positive and negatives in there and stuff like that. And it would fuel me to do better.
Right.
Whatever I felt that was weak. For me back in the day, my biggest weakness was I really hated drawing scenes out, like layout. I mean, doing city scenes,
Right.
cars, vehicles. I just wanted to draw just big muscular people, and most of those muscular people were male.
Right. Yeah.
They weren't female, so the female body was really tough to draw. And then drawing hands, and then just drawing city scenes, and then that, I really hated that stuff. But because I worked in advertising, I was forced to draw it. I had to draw stuff like I did work for was Ford. I remember drawing trucks. I was like, oh, I had to draw trucks. I did work for Gillette, so
Wow.
a lot of I did Gillette. I did Dunkin' Donuts. I did Wendy's. I did Wendy's. I had to do food. Well, of course, the burgers. So I mean, you're talking about I had to do marker renderings that were like by this point computers hadn't really made it in, so it was all hand done, colored
Man.
markers. You had to make the food look really edible kind of thing.
Right.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So all that stuff I was doing was just really stuff adding to my own like skill set. And so yeah, I huffed and puffed at first when I first was doing it, but then as time went on, I was like, wow, I'm getting a lot of, education far beyond what I learned even in art school,
Right.
which was perfect. And then I got into other stuff like I had some opportunities to do some gaming art, so I did the RPG books.
Yeah.
I worked on a few of those back in the I feel like late '90s and the early 2000s. I started getting into doing some RPG artwork. That allowed me to really go nuts with fantasy art, and I was really like somebody hardcore in the detail, especially with my penmanship. So I would draw these really like tight renderings. Like, ooh, I'm one of those people where I love pen and ink, and I
Yeah.
love. I don't like these eyes. Sorry. um, I know. I hope you guys don't mind a little bit of me like talking, like yelling at the page and stuff like that. If I don't like
Nah,
something.
go for it, man. Show who's boss.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'll make all kind of sounds and stuff. I'm trying to get. I'm like, I don't want to sound like I'm crazy. These guys, they be like, oh my god, this guy's he's insane. And
That's
we
right.
brought
We're
him on our
artists too,
show.
man.
Yeah,
We
we brought
understand,
him on
man.
our show.
We're
First his
crazy
phone,
too.
first his video went out, and then all of a sudden he's talking to the art. Good lord. But but yeah. So yeah, I got into doing RPG games, and those are fun. That scratched an itch for me, and then I did some toy stuff, and that scratched an itch. Comics was always elusive to me, and I remember trying to get into comic books. I had some friends. I knew some guys back in the day up in New York. I used to travel up to New York and talk to them, and they were working for Marvel in DC. I struggled with comic books, just because at that point in time I was doing pretty good working in advertising. I mean, excuse me. If I'm going to be honest with you, and I'll be very real, money in advertising and stuff like that is really good.
That's
it's
what I hear.
it's really good, man. And when I would sit down and like I remember once I had a meeting with a editor at one of the big two. It was at a show actually. And one of my friends had said, "Oh, Frank, you should go over there and talk." And I said, "All right." I said, "Let me go and engage," And I went over there and talked to the person. And this person's talking to me, and they were telling me about all the stuff about the comic book, you know, whatever that they're looking for, and then prices. And then I sat there, and I had this one moment in my mind where I sat there and I said, "Why are you talking to this guy, Frank?" And this is my internal voice in my
Right.
head, where I'm sitting there going, I'm making money, a pretty good amount of money, and doing less work than what they're going to be wanting me to do. And this is what that was my frame of mind where I was like, less. I mean, yeah, advertising is not as easy. If you're going to work in advertising, you got to have a mindset that deadlines have to be respected,
Right.
and that you're going to get called at all kind of times, and whatever. Like, I mean, I would there was times where I would get called on a Sunday. You wake up and all of a sudden there's a, hey, you want work, and what are you going to do? You can't say no. So that's the
Right.
kind of lifestyle it is. It's like, you get great, you get paid really well, but you don't really have control over the time. If work comes, you got to jump on it. So anyway, I sat there thinking about it, going, man, comics and the time, and you got to go through all this stuff, and I just I just didn't see the point of doing it, just because I was like, I'm doing really good right now. And so yeah, so there was a point where I just was kind of like, that's okay. I remember walking away from the person. I thanked them for coming and talking, and I said, oh well, well, thank you very much, and I just went about my business. And then at that point, I just said, comics is not for me. I can't do it. And that was the phase. That was a phase in my life where I just was really more focused on, I wanted to make the money.
Right.
I was traveling a lot too, and at that time, that was that young age where I just was doing a lot of crazy stuff, man. I didn't really have a plan or anything, and so I had to go through that craziness. But as time went on, as I was getting older, there was things where I just was like, I want to, kind of, the itch to want to do comics was still there, and I was like, maybe I can, start approaching the more indie side of it, so that still, like, I can still do some work, and yet still I can control, maybe how if I want something. Oh my God, am I actually biting Mecha Godzilla style? Come on, Frank. Come on. Nope, not doing it. Oh, nah, I'm not doing it. I'm gonna change it. I'm just gonna make a big claw. So anyway, I was just like, no, Frank, you can maybe something indie. So I started doing a couple of various projects. Some people would need an indie artist, and I would do pen-ups or did a couple of short stories and stuff, and just various things. I mean, I would jump at every single thing, and because I felt that each little thing I did would just help my skill set. It would just advance me a little bit further. I would learn a little bit more, and and stuff like that. And as time went on, what was it, back in, now we're heading more further into 2009. 2009 was I was working at an agency, freelancing, of course, and another person, this graphic artist, was working there, and I had gone by his cubicle many times, and I always thought he had like Transformers and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's cool, dude. And we would chat, and I'd tell him how I loved all the classic robots and that kind of thing, and he'd be like, oh, that's cool, man, and I like Transformers and stuff like that. And I said, and let's see, I think what it was that his name was James Biggie, by the way, and James had he said, Frank, you want to read the script? I did. And I said, oh, what is it about? And he was like, oh, it's Batman. And I said, oh, another Batman script. That's how my feeling was. I was like, oh, you're gonna be another person writing Batman, and there's 1,000 other people doing Batman. But hey, man, I'll check it out. So I read it, and I said, oh, it's pretty good, man. But then I looked at him, and I said, James, man, I gotta be real with you, bro. I'm looking on your desk, and I don't see Batman, but I see a lot of Transformers. I was like, why are you writing a Batman story when you should, if you like Transformers, why don't you write one about like robots or something? I said, it just makes, I don't know, it makes sense to me. And he just stopped. He said, wow, really? And I said, yeah. And then we started like talking and saying goofy stuff. And I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, yeah, maybe something like super robots, like a world where maybe there's robots, they're all robots. And then there's these few super robots, and the super robots have powers. And that was a stupid idea because it was like, oh, it was weird. But from that idea, from us just playing with that idea, we came up with Robot God Akamatsu, and James came back with the name, and I was like, whoa, that's a cool name. And then I started sketching out just rough ideas, and I was like, yeah, maybe in this world, combiners are pretty much, I don't know, you guys know what combiners are. They're the
Yeah.
robots that, yeah, okay,
Like
yeah,
Voltron.
exactly, there you go.
Yeah.
So combiners are in this world, like, I consider the more powerful robots. as
Right.
compared to like a robot who can't. It's not made of multiple pieces and parts. So from that frame of thinking, we built Robot God off Akamatsu from that, and we flew away with that. I mean, we had fun with that. That was a great time. We just were just having fun. We really didn't know what we were gonna do with it. We just were just drawing and creating and stuff like that. And me and James both worked in advertising, so we understood marketing. We understood it, how to get out there and do guerrilla marketing and stuff like that. So we said, oh, what we'll do, we'll talk about it and see if people are interested, and if they're interested, then we'll just see. That's how it is. It's like in advertising and marketing is really a big chunk of it is really you don't know. You don't know if anybody's gonna like something. You just kind of put it out there and you
Right.
pray. You pray that there's a hit. If it's a good hit, then you go, oh yeah, yeah. Like then you act like, yeah, yeah. I knew what I was doing.
Exactly.
But if it's bad, then it's like, oh man. Well, we had to try it.
Right.
So anyway, we started doing Facebook and just doing posts, little things here and there, and we garnered some attention. I mean, big time attention for it. We learned that the genre, like there were a lot of people who were sort of looking for um, the sort of giant robot kind of story.
Right.
And so we started working on it, and I think that when I look back at it, the reason why we did so well, but also the reason why we kind of failed with the project, was that we approached it from a standpoint of just as creators, and we did not look at it as something that was business as well. Like everything that we did, the thing about it was that everything that we learned, that we both knew, like our own common sense of marketing and business and stuff like that, that got tossed out the window, because we were still in the frame of mind like, oh yeah, yeah, just fun, whatever. And then when people started really liking it and really wanting more and more, we couldn't produce.
Uh,
And so yeah, we got picked up by a publisher, and the publisher loved it, and he took for instance, what I learned was that we originally did oh man, I did a little over 6 issues. Did 6 issues, but we decided to do it as a graphic novel trade. Bad idea. Bad idea. Never do that again. Because it just, one of the things about it was that if we had stretched it out as floppies, then it would have gave the production time to create more. You know what I mean?
right.
Instead
Very
of
true.
like one big shot. So that was one thing. And but again, mind you, at that time, back in 2009, 2009, 2010, that kind of stuff. Remember how graphic novels were so huge?
Right.
People were like, "Oh man, you gotta do a graphic novel, man. No floppies, graphic novel." And people were just doing that, and so we jumped on that same bandwagon and stuff. And people, I mean, we really were getting a lot of interest. We had interviews with people and places and stuff overseas and things like that. We're like, "Oh man, all these people liking this stuff," and they were digging the fact. And one of the things was we used tags, like we were talking about homages to Shogun Warriors, and of course that got people's interest. But the major issue was that again we were two creators who wanted to be creators, but we didn't want to do the business side of it,
Right.
and so that hurt us, because even though we had a publisher, and the publisher was good, they were cool, and stuff like that. Um, when it came time to try to make more, because they were like, oh well, where's volume 2? Uh, Other things in life got in the way. I'll just leave it like that. Other things in
Yeah.
life got in the way, and we couldn't produce. And as time went on, we started doing different things. James started doing stuff for IDW, and then I was still doing a lot of freelancing stuff with just various different clients and stuff like that, and it just lost interest. And I consider that one of the toughest ones, that I still feel aches a little bit from. I think
Yeah.
that's why I'm so like so gusto about Kajus and Cowboys, because I just wanted to succeed. I felt like we let the people down who really were like rooting for us.
Right.
That still I don't know. Like I'm doing all the talking. Have you guys done comic book? You've done comic books, right?
Yeah. So we started self publishing about 4 years ago
Okay.
under Homie Head Comics, and we started putting out our own comic books.
All right.
Yeah.
And so, had there ever been something where you felt like you just never completed, or whatever?
Probably nothing that we actually put out in front of people, but there were definitely things that Justin and I talked about doing that went nowhere.
Yeah, that's a it's a sinking feeling, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is. And I think that's the thing. It
It's a
is.
little hard. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's times. There's another thing I think is that I've worked on a lot of projects that have never seen the day of light. Yeah, most likely they'll never see the day of light. Yeah, that's the word.
yeah,
And that's another thing that sticks with me where I go, oh man, I worked on this, and it's just gonna probably sit somewhere.
yeah,
And that's haunting. It's like you just sit there and you go, yeah, I got paid for it, and yeah, and I whatever, but still I want to see it. It's almost in a race. Like you're in
yeah.
this race and you want to get to the finish line, and the finish line is right there, right there,
Right.
and it's just like I just want to get over the finish line. So that's how I felt. When
Yeah,
Robot got Akamatsu, because I still get people, I still get DMs sometimes. People ask, and it's like I'm just like at this point now, nothing's gonna really happen. Now I'm working on Kajus and Cowboys, and that's where my energies are and stuff. So, but that's a
uh,
lesson. That's a lesson to any young artisans out there that are listening to this. That yeah, I look at it where I don't let that define my existence. So it's not like I go, oh man, I'm a failure.
right.
Yeah, no, you won't hear me do that. No, I won't do that. It's just something that it just sits. It sometimes it'll come up like right now in this conversation, and then I'll
Right.
sit down. I have my moment. I think about it, and I go, well, you know what? Codgers and Cowboys. I'm going to put that energy into it,
There you go.
so it does not fail.
That's right. Just got to put it to the
Yeah,
next project. Move on.
exactly.
Move
Well,
on.
that's the important thing. And I think a lot of young artists need to understand that don't and writers. I try to make it very important because it always kills me when I see the whole debate between writers and artists and that whole craziness and who does who and what. I'm like, dude, we're all creatives,
Right.
And the thing is that we got to learn to respect one another and stuff like that. It is a jungle. It's a wilderness out there. Wasting your time arguing over little small stuff isn't going to get anything done.
That's right.
So, and let's see. I'm trying to think of what else. Anything else? I've done a lot of stuff with Alterna. I would say that. Well, actually, beyond. I think I skipped a lot of stuff. I actually did some in the more Kaiju related realm. After Robot got Akamatsu. Ugh, say that three times.
Right.
Uh, what happened? Oh, I saw this posting, and I always tell a lot of people, artists too, don't be afraid to show your artwork. Come on, just show you. Put some stuff out there. Finished stuff, please. Don't put early early layout comp stuff. Don't please just try to put your best foot out there because you never know who's gonna look at it. Many of the jobs or things that I've gotten have all come from a lot of online stuff. I've been contacting people who just be like, oh yeah, because I'm on Facebook and they'll be like, hey, I saw you working. I thought that you might be good for this. And then many of them, some of them don't play out, but I'll tell you right now, many of them played out in a big way. And one of the big ones was from Sunstone Games. Uh, I got contacted by was it Simon Strange? How about a name like that, huh? Simon Strange. And he contacted me. And and I'd received a couple of people would contact me over the years. I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, okay, cool, cool. And listen to them and stuff. But anyway, he said, hey, man, I saw your artwork. Actually, no, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry, guys. What happened was I saw a notification or a notice that he had posted about well at the time Kaju Combat, excuse me, and Kaju Combat was this video game. It was going to be a video game that Sunstone Studios, his studio, was going to be doing, and it was crowdfunded. It was going to be a video game that was crowdfunded, and so people paid into it. It made over six figures, and there was going to be this video game and blah blah blah. Now I remember doing some ad work for a video game, a
Yeah.
Godzilla video game actually, and I think I still got some of the artwork somewhere of the stuff that I did, like keyframes that I did. But it was a Godzilla video game, and I remember in the meetings and stuff how just sitting in the meetings listening to them and how difficult it is to do video games. I mean, it is not easy. I don't care what no one tells you. You first off, you gotta have a lot of capital.
I bet.
You gotta have money. It's like, yeah, it looks all easy. No, you gotta have money. You gotta have some money and then time. The time to build whatever you gotta do to make that video game happen. There's a lot that goes into it. You're talking sometimes years. Depending on what that game is. Just like a film, or whatever animation. And so he had did this pretty successful crowdfunding, and it was all Kaju based, and it was the fans and stuff like that. And so I saw a picture of that, and I was like a posting, and I said, oh, that's pretty interesting. So then I was like, man, I said, I had just gotten out of doing a lot of. There was a point too, and I sort of missed that, was that I also did sketch cards. I got into the
Mhm.
sketch card craze, and did a lot of work. Again, that was one of those things where I got contacted by somebody who had a sketch card company, and they saw my work on Facebook, and I was like, sketch card. I had no idea what they were. I was just like, what are they? And this guy was explaining them to me, and he was like, and I said, you mean like storyboards? And he was like, yeah, I guess like storyboards. They're 2.5 by 3.5. And I said, okay. And of course, the pay was a lot. The pay wasn't great. The pay wasn't great, but the difference with the fandom with sketch cards is that they, depending on what set you're on and if they really like your work, then you can make some good money. You can make back in the day. I don't know how it is now, um, but back in the day, you could do really well. So I got in on it in 2000, actually around the same time, 2009, and I got to work with a lot of really amazing artists and worked on some Marvel sets and stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah, those are fun. I got to work on a Voltron. There was an official
Oh,
Voltron
that's cool.
card set. That
Cool.
was fun. Well, that was my whole thing. I wanted to work on stuff that was in a genre that I really love.
Right.
But with that said, I did work on a lot of other stuff that wasn't, superhero stuff, fantasy. I think there was a Lady Death set that I worked on and that kind of stuff.
Nice.
But so what happened was that worked out, and I did a ton of cards. But then as time went on, I just was like, you know, it's a lot of cards, and I just was like, I want to find something new. I want to find something different, and something that maybe can get me closer to the genre that I love drawing in, which is kajus and giant robots and that kind of stuff. So then what I did was, when I saw the posting from Sunstone Games on Facebook, I said, huh, well, in the old school way of, marketing, and when you're out there hustling as an artist, the best way that you want to get the attention of someone is you start drawing, you know, you help to plant the seed, and of an idea, and then hopefully you plant the seed enough so that that person looks at it and goes, hmm.
Right.
And so what I did was I started looking at their characters, and I started drawing images of the characters as sketch cards, because I was like, oh yeah, I've done sketch cards and stuff like that, and so I said, I'm gonna start just drawing images, just like anything, and just showcasing them. And I started doing that, and people went nuts. People loved it. They were like, "Oh my God, what is this card set?" And da 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 da. And once a lot of people started jumping on it, of course he was like, "Whoa, this looks this is cool."
Right.
So he contacted me, DM me, and he said, "Hey, look, how do you feel about doing trading cards?" And I said, "Sure. You paying?"
Right.
Hey, I have no qualms about that. I tell any artist out there, if you work in the industry, do not be afraid. I remember all my mentors always said that. Don't be afraid to ask for money. You are a contractor. I'm a contractor.
Right.
Just like somebody, electrician or whatever. And so you wouldn't expect the electrician to come to your house and just do the wiring for free. I mean, you may wish it, but for it to happen, let's be honest, it's not going to happen. So so I was like, well, it's paying, and then he said okay, and then we talked, and I said okay, that's a fair, because my thing is that I had to learn that the money that I was going to be making was nowhere near what advertising money would be, but I still want to walk away where it feels fair. You know what I
Right.
mean? That's
Yeah.
that's where my teachers, my mentors always said, Frank, don't be greedy. You can always, people can tell when you're being greedy, and then when you're just being fair. You can negotiate a fair price. They go, oh, okay, cool. And then if you begin producing a level of work, then they go, oh, okay, we're glad we got this dude, that kind of thing. So once we agreed upon a price and stuff, he put me to work, and I worked on, boy, when it was all said and done, like over 6 sets.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was really interesting. That it was like I got to work on so many various illustrations from so many different people. Because I mean, I had to tell people many times because they were like, "Well, you why?" They would ask me, they would contact me and be like, "Well, why did you draw this character?" And I'm like, "Whoa, hold on a second. I was hired to draw a character that was created by someone else. You know,
Right.
I'm just the hands that's illustrating it technically, and I'm fine with that. But I really don't. I know as much as you know about this particular character. Why don't you reach out to the person who created it and ask them these very personal questions? You know. And so yeah, so I went back and forth with that. Very nice, very cordial about it and stuff. But I always was like, no, I've tried to let people know that no, when I would, he would send me stuff. He would send me sometimes drawings and illustrations, which were always nice. I'm definitely a stickler for trying to maintain a consistency with whoever creates something. Like if somebody sends me something, if they got a character or something I have to work for, then I try to stay close to that. Just working in my style though.
Right.
But yeah, so it was fun. I mean, a lot of interesting stuff. That definitely helped me in just broadening my viewpoint on creating kajus and creatures and things like that. I always feel it's always a learning lesson. And let me see. I'm trying to think.
When did you meet Pete?
Oh God, Pete. Me and Pete always discuss this too. I've discussed it on this show as well. I feel like I met Pete. It's definitely going on. It's got to be going over 10 years. I think we both are in agreement that it's over 10 years. And he said that I met him in New York at a show. And I have a lousy memory, but I vaguely remember. I vaguely remember, but yeah. So I'm gonna go with Pete in saying that it's a little over 10 years that I've known him, and off and on. And one of the things about Pete that always well, I have to admit, and about Pete is that Pete's really the one who probably got me really excited in my second attempt, and my second attempt, major second attempt, getting back in the comics, which is right now, getting back in the comics, just because of how he has handled everything going on with Alterna.
Yeah.
I mean, for the longest time, I always struggled with comic books because I always felt that and this and again, when I say this, I'm not trying to offend anyone, and I don't want people to feel offended or anything like that. But I'm a very real person. My feeling with comic books is, from what I've seen as an outsider, is that it just seems like, and not a, I don't want to say it because there's a lot of people that are doing the right thing about it, but I always felt that there was almost like, coming from advertising. Advertising was like mom and dad, and comic books was like the kids having a party at the house. So do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that was always a feeling that I always had about it. Like I think that people who got into it and they treated it like this unending party, and they somehow never understood that it's a business, and that there has to be a level of respect for the business, for that business to continue. That yeah, you can have parties, you can have fun and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not somebody who's not used to having fun and stuff. I love fun, but also I understand that for these big companies to exist, there has to be some level of maturity. Maybe that's the
Right.
word I'm looking for. There you go. That's the word. Some level of maturity. I have a hard time. Like, I've never been a person who goes about and tries to slam on people and stuff like that because I'm no better. Who am I?
Right.
I'm just a human being too. But I'll tell you one thing, I can always look at any kind of fault that I have and be like, all right, cool. I screwed up. I messed up. Yep. Now I'm ready to learn. It's hard for me to see grown people doing stuff that makes me even scratch my head and go, how are you doing this? Especially when you're there.
Right.
That's tough for me to understand that. I have a hard time when you're there. Like if I was there, I'd be the most boringest person. I told my wife that. I said, "All you know about me, I just travel a little bit. If I happen to go to any of these shows, I'll just be like, oh hey, what's up? And talk to the fans, and then I'll be out. I'll be like, all right, time to go to my boring life. Cause I'm like, I'm already here. Guess what? I'm here.
Right.
I don't need to act silly and get into Twitter fights and all this weird stuff, man.
Exactly. Stay away from
I
the drama.
I don't get it. And as I'm getting older, I'm more and more. I'm just like, wow, man, I must be a dinosaur. I'm literally a dinosaur. I'm sitting there like, oh, I get none of this. I'm like, just talk about comics.
Right.
Honestly, I'll see posts, man, that go on for the longest time, and I hear nothing about comics. I hear no one talking about how much they love doing what they supposedly are doing.
Right.
You know, I see artists getting on, and I see hours of them talking about everything else except their own artwork
Yep.
or the love of it. How is that possible? And then yet, in the same breath, they'll be like, "Well, will you buy my book?"
Right.
And to me, I sit there and I go, "Well, isn't that capitalism?"
Yeah.
Because in the same breath, if you were gonna really be an artist, and there are the artists who are just like, yo, dude, I'm just art, I'm drawing my thing, fine, I have no problem with that. Then give your stuff away for free. Don't ask people to buy your stuff. That's always been my thought. Like, you look, then don't. You know what? Give it away free. People like it. That's cool. I respect that. That's pretty cool. But if you're gonna try to enter the arena of capitalism and you start taking people's money, I don't know, man. That's a whole nother arena, man. I can't. I don't know. I can't do it. I know I can't do it. I can't take someone's money and then be like, oh, I'm sorry. I know it's been a year or so. I can't get your commission to you, or
Right.
my book's not coming. Oh, yeah,
Oh,
I know you
that's
guys.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know the campaign's over, and but things happen. I personally can't do that. So that's all I got to say with that.
Yeah. Just real quick, Johnny Johnson stopped by to say hi.
Hey, what's
Hey,
going
Johnny.
on?
Says, "Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Johnny."
Good morning, Johnny. What's happening, man?
Johnny's one of our best buds here.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yeah.
Is Johnny an artist as well?
Yes, he is.
Awesome.
He's the best of us. He's an awesome
He's
artist.
a phenomenal
Fantastic.
artist. Yeah.
I love it. We need that's. I'm telling you, that's one of the things. I like as I get older. I just feel like, man, I just want to, the great. I don't feel like we need to keep harping on the old ones. Because I mean, look, I'm not saying. Look, I love Jack Kirby. Let me just say it like this: I love Jack Kirby. I think these guys are legacy, so they'll
Right.
never be forgotten. But with that said, we need new generation. We need new blood too.
Yes, we do.
So that's all. That's all I'll say on that matter. I'm not somebody who's so into my own stuff to be like, I don't ever want to see anybody draw the way whatever such and such. I want to see somebody come up and say, well, now I'm being called Mr. Washington, which is so weird, Mr. Washington, and they come up and I just look at their work. I'm gonna have that moment where I just look at it and just be like, wow, that like, man, this is what it's about. I'm gonna have that moment, like how I felt when I met Kevin Eastman, how I felt when I met like John Romita Jr. That feeling when you look him in the eye, man, you're like, oh man, God, this is incredible. When I had the chance to meet Paul Ryan, or even Herb Trimpe, my hero. I
Yeah.
got to meet Herb Trimpe numerous times. Got to tell him how much he meant to me, man. Like a kid, I'm a kid. I said I'm a black kid from the projects, man. And you this man who created something that affected my life. And I remember talking to him, telling him that. He just looked at me, man. And I said, "Can I call you Dad?" I kid you not. I didn't know. I kid you not. I actually told him that. He started laughing. I said, "Can I just call you Dad?" He said, "Sure." He said, "Sure, son."
That's awesome.
Because that's me. That's Frankie B. I'm gonna say it. I can't. That's it. That's that part of me. I'll just say any kind of just like whatever. New England, brother. New England. But yeah, that was
That's
a
awesome.
great. I almost got a little choked up there for a minute because he's gone.
Yeah.
Herb Trimpe left us, and I had a chance. It was like the year before he passed away. I had a chance to present him with some artwork, and I got to talk to him again. And it's just
That's
that
awesome.
that's what it's about, man. I want to see the torch pass. I want to see artists who are really in it and they're doing amazing artwork. Creating, keeping the craft going, Pushing yourself. Please push yourself. Don't just don't just stop. Keep it going. I said the greatest enemy to any artisan out there is complacency.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get stuck in a one view or whatever. Educate
Very true.
yourself. Look at as much art. Listen to as much music as you can. All different. Open yourself up. I had a teacher that once said that. I remember one of my assignments was because our school was near downtown Boston, well on Beacon Street. We could literally walk to the public gardens, and I remember my teacher Tina. We called her hippie Tina, because she was, but she was cool, man. And I remember she, for one assignment, she said, "All right, guys, I want you to go to the public gardens and go find a twig." I was like, "A twig?" She said, "Yep, go find a twig." So we all found twigs and whatever. And then she said, "All right, we're going back to the class." Went back to the class, and then she said, "All right, I want you guys to take those twigs and your inkwells and start drawing."
Wow.
And that's what we did. We drew with twigs. She said that's part of art. That's why when people contact me, like right now, I'll probably show. I'm drawing right now with a what is this? This is like a watercolor brush.
I'll put you on full screen here.
Yeah, there you go. This is a watercolor brush.
Oh
Nice.
yeah.
And what I did was I filled it here. I got to put the cap on. I just filled it today. I filled it with some of this, my try and true.
Sumi ink. Nice.
Yep, Sumi. I've been using this for years, and I stumbled on this beauty a few years ago because I was sitting there because there's I get bored. I don't know about you guys, but I get bored sometimes, and I'll be like, yeah, I got to try something different.
Yeah.
Because I got my regular brushes. I got my brushes here and stuff like that. Old school. Got my inkwell, and I said, speed wise, because I'm still in that frame of mind of the commercial illustrator. So it's about speed, fast, and how can I quicken things up?
Right.
I'm always that mantra's in the back of my mind, like deadline. Like, how can I just speed this up? I need stuff shortcuts to just work wise, not shortcut in the artwork, but more shortcuts of just cutting down unnecessary time, like time that could be wasted. Like if I'm sitting here and let me work on this one scale.
Right.
3 hours later, same scale. That's not going to work for a client. So what happened was I looked on Amazon and I saw these watercolor brushes, and I said watercolor, and I said, huh. I said, dang, I bet you I could put ink in those. I wonder how that would work. I said I'll never know unless I try it. So I ordered some, and then I started trying it, and then I said that's a cool device, and I started playing with them and using them, and then used them a little bit, and then I got bored with those, and then I finally went to these babies right here, the Pentel pen, brush pen,
Nice.
and these babies right here are kind of nice too. Like, is there a certain thing that you guys use and stuff?
Yeah, like right now I am using a Pentel pocket brush.
Oh, there you go. That's it.
Yeah. I'm using something. I don't know what this is.
Nice.
Now I bought a sampler pack from Jet Pens, and this is
good.
one of the ones that came in there. I was like, oh, that's pretty neat.
Oh,
It
see,
feels
there
like
you go.
Feels like an actual brush to hold, so I like it.
Well, I always tell people, like, again, you get these people and they sit there and they swear they're like, oh, I got to get the most expensive thing. And I'm like, dude, I suggest you need to watch the movie Crumb. Because Robert Crumb, that dude was drawn with a Bic. I think, was it a Bic pen or something? And it was like the artwork that was coming from his fingers, man, with a Bic pen, a simple pen. It's like, my point is that it doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, there's people that can draw with just whatever. It's just you got to have it in you. I mean, sure, I guess you could spend a ton of money on something that's super expensive. I mean, I remember back in the day. I don't even know if you guys even remember. Remember Rapidograph pens?
Yes.
Rapidograph? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, good. I'm not that old. Um,
Yeah.
what a nightmare for me. I don't know how anybody else, but they were tech pens, and for
Yes.
people out there, and they were horrible. I hated them. I remember using them in school, and they would get clogged, and I'm trying to replace the cartridges, and it was a pain in the neck, and I hated them. Hated them. I started learning how to do, getting comfortable doing brush inking from Rob Stowe. Rob Stowe was a buddy of mine from Boston, and Rob did a lot of stuff. He did a lot of inking for Marvel, I think DC, but I think a lot of Marvel stuff. But I remember hanging with him when he was living up in New York at the time, and just watching how he would lay down his inks and stuff. And I would just be watching it, and I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna try doing more, stuff with the brush. And it was as simple as that. I would just watch and go, maybe I should switch it up and just practice.
Right.
You know. All right. How's it going? How's everybody doing with the art?
Yeah, let me go around the room here.
All
It's
right.
going.
Start with you, Frankie.
Oh boy, I don't even know what I'm creating here. This weird guy with
Yeah,
his mouth
that's
gaped open.
nice.
That
Oh,
is really nice. Love that shoulder.
I know it's crazy, man. My brain's all over the place. All right.
It's awesome. What kind of creature is that?
It's a mixture. It's just like my first thought. Well, right here on the bottom, I got to show some buildings, and then I always tell people if you're gonna do kajus, you got to put a helicopter in there.
For scale.
Yeah, and actually, it's funny that you say that. So here, I'm gonna rough sketch a helicopter real quick because you just reminded me. That's my big thing because I always tell people when you do kajus, you have to have some kind of size uh, comparison. You
Mhm.
just need it because that's the whole basis of it. Like if you try to do static art and a kaju as a static art, you really don't know if it's really a giant, you know. So that kind of helps to have some kind of comparison. And right here, I'm just doing a quick gestural. This is when I do gestural stuff like this, especially like a helicopter, because I've drawn them numerous times. This is gonna be what I call the Frankie B helicopter. It's not like I have the reference of an actual helicopter in front of me. If
Right.
I was working on something, yes, I would have the reference. But just like Jack Kirby had his own kind of vehicles, a Jack Kirby vehicle.
Right.
You still can tell what it was, but it's like, oh yeah, it's a Jack Kirby vehicle. So just to let people out there know, I have a rough inkling of how a helicopter looks. So, and then what I'll do is I'll have it speeding by. Yeah, I guess today was Drawstream Day. Pete had one. He's got one coming up at 2 o'clock.
Oh
Yeah. Are
wow.
you enjoying that right after this?
No, no, I said I'm an old man. One Drawstream. One Drawstream. You know what? It's like it's just one of the things I've been on it with Pete and them, and I try to tell these guys on a serious note too. It's just that as artists, we got to learn how to think about our wellness.
Right.
I'm saddened when I see artists who leave us too soon, and possibly because of things that might have been taken care of. I mean, I understand when we have conditions and stuff that we have no control over. But as somebody who myself personally, I grapple with my weight and high blood pressure and stuff like that. I decided to make a change in my life and started working out and just because I was like I want to be around. There was a person. I always tell people this story about this artist. There was a friend of mine. I did a lot of work with him in agency stuff, and he also did some comic book stuff. And unfortunately, he's not here today. He died years ago, and it was one of those scenarios where his wife found him at his desk, gone.
Wow. Yeah.
And I remember that was very profound for me, where I was like, I don't want to go out like that, man. I don't want to go out like that, especially when it's something where I could have had some level of control over it.
Right.
It's just that stuck with me. And the thing about it is that as artists, we tend to not take good care of ourselves. I'm not going to paint a huge break. I think there are many artists that are changing that. I mean, I'm not saying you got to head off to the gym and start, going all crazy and stuff like that. I've gone the gym route before and heavy lifting and all that crazy stuff. And no, that's a whole different mindset. But just the stuff where you're conscious of like your health, where you get up and your fingers and your hands and how many artists I know out there that suffer from their hands and their fingers and their eyes and you know
Right.
these are things where you got to be mindful. I remember I started wearing glasses after years ago. I mean, for the longest time I wasn't wearing glasses, and then maybe back in the early 2000s I remember reading a thing where one of the people I knew, they were having problems, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go for an eye test. I said I'm not gonna, because you imagine I was straining my eyes all the time too, and I just was like, nope. I don't wanna, I want to try to catch something, hopefully
Right.
before it catches up on me. All right, there you go.
Very nice.
One little ugly helicopter. Throw some speed lines in there. Sorry about that.
That's the Frankie B helicopter. Huh?
Yeah, Frankie B helicopter. Really quick, easy. But that's one of the things about it is if you're afraid of drawing backgrounds, I always tell people I'm like just jump into it, just do it. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of artists now, younger artists who I think they're more worried about seeking perfection
Right.
instead of just like just enjoying the piece of work. When I draw something, I don't see perfection. I don't know what perfection is. I honestly don't. I just draw, and because I'm a flawed human, my artwork's going to be flawed. But that's the whole point, right?
Right.
It's organic. It's that's when I look at Jack Kirby's work and stuff, and Frank Robbins. Frank Robbins is another person. I've been reading the volumes of the Invaders, especially when Frank Robbins and Frank Springer. A lot of people don't even know who these guys artists were, and and his work was so beautiful. He had such an energy to his work, and just so gorgeous, gorgeous work. And for me, I'm just like that's the kind of stuff I want to do. I want myself to have energy. I want I don't mind the little mistakes in it. I don't want my lines to be so crisp and so clean and whatever. I like that little edginess to it. I don't know.
That's the artist in you, man.
Yeah, it is. See, this is where I start just rambling. Oh, back in the day.
So how did you go about being an artist on Log? Because I know you did that cover.
On who? Say on log? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. How did that happen? That is a great question. um, God, what happened? I feel like, yeah. See, I can't recall if whether or not I drew something first, and then the creator Ski uh saw it, and then he approached me. You know what? I can't recall. I can't recall what was the catalyst. Cause I don't know if it was just like he just saw my other monster stuff and thought that I could do it. I really, yeah, that's escaping me right now. I'm gonna go. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pull a bullet and I'll just say I'm gonna go that maybe I drew an image of log and then he saw it and then maybe that was like he was like, you know what, I'm gonna try to get this dude on here. So I'm gonna go with that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, because I have that I have no inkling. That's a great question. But I'm glad that he gave me the opportunity to play in the North Woods. The log is such a great character. I even
Really
told
is.
him that yeah, when I told him when I usually when I do artwork for someone, especially for comics and stuff like that, I like doing a character sheet just for myself so I can get a rough understanding. Oh darn it, I screwed up. Hey guys, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. I can't see you though.
Doing so good too.
There you go. Justin, let me see what you got going on. I'm gonna put you on solo screen here.
Sure.
Hello,
Yep.
guys.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
You hear you, bud.
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear us?
Uh,
I'm sorry, buddy. That's rough. Yeah, this is just gonna be a giant squid monster with like crab legs. I wanted to make it more like a praying mantis, but
some
um,
twins.
with the legs that I gave it, but it's just turning into more of a crab looking thing because the nautical theme I have. So that's fine. I'm happy with it.
Very nice. All right. Shut mine off here.
Yeah.
I'm going more for like a sea creature kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was thinking piranha teeth, and I got my foreground here for scale.
Yeah. Yeah, that foreground looks really good.
Thanks.
Really well inked.
Thanks. There we go. Man, I love having Frankie on. He's a great conversationalist. He just
It really is, yeah.
there he is. He's back.
Oh,
Hey,
guys. Oh
he's
man,
back.
I don't. You know what? This is really making me want to invest in a camera. Do you guys have? What are you using to film for your video?
Yeah, I've got a Logitech camera,
Logic. Are you working on? Are you working on a PC or a Mac?
PC.
PC. See, I'm using a Mac. All right, I gotta. I'm gonna put that right on my thing. I gotta get a camera. Cause this, you know what it is? It's like some weird. Yeah, big words. Get a camera, idiot.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
this is a
crazy.
box here. This is what I'm using.
Yeah, it's just this is so weird because what happens is like the a voice thing pops up and I've shut off my Siri and everything and all of a sudden this voice thing kicks in for
Hmm.
some reason and it takes control. It just literally the screen goes blue and it goes give me an order. I'm like, oh man, all right, I'm gonna look into a camera. Yeah, because I'm actually I just want to say, guys, I'm having a ball, man. Minus these
Technical
this
difficulties.
technical difficulties. And again, I'm sorry to people in the chat and stuff like that. Really sorry.
No,
Uh,
we love having you on here, man. Like I said, we're
Yeah.
quiet guys most of the time, so like having you on here, like talking, telling us about yourself, man. We're just
oh, fantastic.
glad to have you here.
Well, this is definitely a motivator for me to go. Because now that I'm doing, I got my YouTube channel and stuff like that. Yeah, maybe it's time to skip it up a little bit. You know. Because I'm starting. Because it's so funny. Because for years I remember people used to get on me. Oh my God! Other artists that I knew, and dude, you should do like a video channel. I'm like, man, I'm busy, man. I'm doing artwork. That would always be my thing. I'm like, oh, dude. I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it. And then finally, what really kicked it into gear was, I think 2020. I feel like 2020 was it because I. It's funny because I had my YouTube channel for a long time. Actually, I haven't looked back at it, but I've had it for a long time, and I put a few things on it here and there, but I was never really committed to it. It was just like,
Right.
oh yeah, I put stuff. Again, like I told people even now, I treat it as a portfolio. It's like back in the day when I had to, the good old days of just going around and going to agencies and showing your artwork and stuff, and have somebody look at it and just be like, that sucks. Like, oh man, okay, thank you. Oh yeah, the good old days, man. I can tell you a story about those. But
Man,
so pretty much, yeah, my YouTube channel, I just treat it like that. Like it's just a place where it's like I imagine in my mind like a virtual, if I was at a con or something, and
right,
my portfolio is open, and somebody happens to come on by and goes, what's in there? And they just look at it and they just flip through it, and so
right.
that's kind of like my mindset. I think that's why my approach to doing videos and stuff, I don't put too much heavy stock into it. I just kind of go, well, if somebody comes by and they enjoy it and stuff like that, I really, first off, I'm very appreciative because honestly, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube.
Yes, yes,
the
there is.
fact the fact that somebody wants to come on by and look at what I'm doing amongst all the multitude is, man, I'm truly on it by that because I'm like, wow, you took the time, you took that precious time, whatever time it is, to come on by. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I'm definitely not somebody who's just gonna, oh man, I gotta try to get the next content. Nah, I'm more focused in. I got artwork, and yeah, if the mood hits me, and I got some stuff, then yeah, I think if anything, I'm hoping that if the really positive side of it, that somebody who looks at it and they just get inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always, even in my videos, I try to tell people, I don't do tutorials, excuse me. But hopefully it's a motivator, it'll help motivate you or inspire you to maybe look at some other channels that are focused into that. There are a ton of stuff. I mean, when I first started out, geez, I didn't have access to YouTube.
Right.
And looking at tutorials and stuff. You had to go and meet somebody. You go meet somebody and talk to them, and and they had their timetable, and they had to do the work they had to do. So a lot of stuff I had to read books and stuff. So it's definitely a good tool for anyone out there who's trying to. You have some opportunities
Yes.
um, to
No
do your
excuse, really.
research. No, say it again. I'm sorry.
I said no excuse.
No excuses. Yeah, don't have excuses. I know it's become something of a thing where you know, just yeah. People tend to have excuses about stuff, and it's like, come on, man. You don't want to live that kind of life. You want to be able to say, look, I did this. If you mess up, then fine. You messed up, then you learn.
Right.
That's the
Exactly.
whole point. You'll learn from it. You won't learn if you don't try.
Exactly.
But if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, well, there might be an issue. There's something. That's when you have to start doing some reevaluating and really break the old mirror out and say, "There's something going on with me."
That's right.
I've been there before, where I've had to look inside the mirror and go, maybe there's something going on. I gotta figure this out. All right, what are you, big ugly creature? What am I gonna do with you? Oops. Freaking thing rolled right over the artwork. Don't that suck? Have you ever had that? Like if you did some fresh, I know for ink, and all of a
Yes.
sudden it just rolls over. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
don't you dare! You know what? I'm gonna change this. I'm not gonna give him a skinny belly. I'm gonna change it. See, that's the power of art. You can just one
Yeah.
minute, you just change it up. So, what are you guys doing? Are you guys doing some new stuff coming down the wire, or
Yeah. We're in the
there you go.
process. We're in the process of writing right now. Really.
There you go.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that people don't talk about their projects and share everything, because that can get you in trouble.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, and trust me, I've lived it. I used to be like, this is happening, blah blah blah, and then whatever circumstances coming away, and you got people asking you like, "Where's it at?"
Yeah.
And then you sit there like, "Oh no." So yeah, I appreciate that. Mum's the word. Mum's the word until you're ready.
Exactly.
So, what kind of genre do you guys love?
Just go ahead.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like. I really got into anime stuff when I was
Mm,
younger. I think
mm-hmm.
a lot of people did, right? My
All right.
roughly my age. But for the longest time, I had more of an interest in like the contemporary stuff of the time, like the mid to late '90s or something like that,
Gotcha.
like that kind of style. And then, man, it must have been like the late '90s whenever we got cable and we started watching like Gundam Wing and Dragon Ball Z and stuff like.
Ah, there you go. Yeah.
And I was like, "Are you kidding me? I can draw like way simpler, and it still looks cool."
It's funny they talk about anime. I remember my first inkling, like getting into anime, was back in the '80s. And I remember joining this anime society kind of thing. It was like this group where they met up. I feel like it was at not Northeastern University. It was at some university where we would meet up every one Saturday of the month. And what happened was it was pretty cool actually. They would have VHS copies of these various animes, but they also end up doing these booklets that would be like scripts
Hmm.
that they pretty much the actual script of the anime, but it was converted to English, so we would
Wow.
know. Yeah,
That's
it was
cool.
pretty crazy. Yeah, and they had artwork and people who were part of the group. You can submit and I submit artwork and oh God, I don't even know. I remember submitting some artwork and I got in to one of the pamphlets, I believe. God knows what that pamphlet is. But I remember that was my first like getting into anime, and a lot of the anime that I got into was what I call the more what I call the noir. Like the heavy black,
Yeah,
lights
yeah,
and
yeah.
shadows,
Noir.
like stuff. Like I would say, like Fist of the North Star, the
Oh yeah.
original, Go Go 13,
Hmm.
um, Demon City, Shinjuku. Who else? Oh boy. Oh, Crying Freeman.
Hmm.
So stuff like that, and of course, the early like Mazinga Z, robot stuff like that. Uh, those were the things that I really liked. I liked some of the early Lupin.
Oh
Lupin
yeah.
was pretty good. Dragon Ball Z, of course. Although, at the time when I got into Dragon Ball Z, there was so much stuff that I kind of it was overwhelming because you just didn't
Oh
know it
yeah.
was like a bunch of stuff. So it was like, oh yeah. So I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like I was hardcore in the sense of like watching every single episode.
Yeah.
I love Robotech when well, excuse me,
Oh yeah.
Macross, Robotech. I got it, but when I first saw Robotech,
Yeah.
that's how I learned about Macross. That's how. And then what was it? Battleship Yamato,
Hmm.
which I love. Oh man, I love Battleship Yamato or Star Blazers, as it was called here. Um, Gatchaman, which again was G-Force. And one of the things I loved about those animes was I loved how they just seemed very serious. I mean,
Hmm.
I love
Oh no,
Oh.
Frankie.
Oh man.
it again. Why is it doing this?
When Frankie gets a camera, we're going to have him back on here.
Yeah.
I love Frankie. He's awesome. So let me go back to your screen, Justin. See how far you've got.
Mhm. Still going.
Hold it up to the camera a little closer.
A little closer. All right. Let's see here.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, just doing the outlines.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Oh my god!
Welcome back, Frankie.
God, this is crazy. But yeah, I got so yeah, like Gatchaman and stuff like that. They were very serious, even though I love comedy. Like I mean, this KO Century Beast. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that one.
Mhm.
No.
That was sort of like this goofy kind of like giant robot and animals and oh boy, I mean, there's so many. But that was the stuff that I remembered. Like I kind of loved. I loved how it was very like the heavy black lines and
Yeah.
shadow and stuff.
Yeah.
Something about that I really loved. Um, and then I think I got out of it for a little bit, and then Akira came. I loved Akira.
Man,
Love, love,
what a
love
crazy
Akira.
movie.
Oh, I
Crazy
love Akira.
animation.
I remember when I was doing work at All of Joy Animation, and I remember they contacted me. They said, Frank, you're gonna love this, and I was like, okay. And they said, well, one of our clients is we're doing this stop motion, and it's gonna be a Doritos ad, but it's going to be overseas. It's going to, they're going to air it overseas. And they were like, well, we need you to do design buildings, but we want it to look like Akira. Akira got that opening scene where you see the city, and it
Yeah.
looks like a
Yeah.
mountain, like far away. It looks like a mountain. They pan, and you see a city. And so I literally got to watch Akira over and
Oh my
over again
god.
for reference. I had to draw, yeah. So because they were literally doing a stop motion, and I had to design the buildings, and then I had to design some of the mechanized, like it was going to be like a construction site. So I had to design some of the mechanized construction vehicles, and
That's
it blew my mind. Like they just were like, all right, I did the 2D illustrations and stuff like that. And then what they did, they took those illustrations and they blew them up like massive size, like huge size, and then put them
Mhm.
on see-through plexiglass.
Huh.
And then they cut around. They did die cuts of the vehicles and of the city parts. And so what they did was they did this nice layered effect. So you had the stop motion in front of it, but in the background you got this sense of like Akira, where it looked like a mountain range. but they're made
Yeah.
of the buildings. Yeah, that was awesome. That was like I was like, whoa, boy, I was so excited for that one.
It sounds like fun.
Yeah, but yeah, Kira was one of those things. Of course, Transformers the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I always remember the commercial. 4 years in the making.
Yeah.
That one. So yeah, when it started getting into the '90s, oh man, what was it? Well, I remember people started talking about Evangelion, and
Yeah.
and I was like, all right, let me check it out. And hmm.
Not
How
for
can I
you.
just? How can I? Well, here's the funny part. I'm somebody who, first and foremost, I'll say I'm glad that it exists. I personally, there's a part of me that looks at many things that people create. I understand why creators create them, but with that said, when you're creating something and it's going to be seen by mass market, in some degree, you, I always feel if you want to create something, you either got to have the mentality that it's going to be entertainment, um, and it's going to be something that can be digested by as many people as possible. Meaning, people who may not have read it or understood what it is, they can get it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just that part of me where working in advertising and stuff like that, my mind thinks like that. I go, well, if you it could, because it's a lot of money. I mean, a lot of things that as fans don't have the luxury of understanding that it takes a lot of money to do animation. It does. It takes a lot of money to do films. To do comic books. It's money. So when people are doing comic books or doing, let's say not even comic books, but animes or films, they have to hold in their mindset that we need to get a lot of people in on this. We need to get them on board. And that might mean people who don't know anything about the manga or they may not know anything about it. I'm not saying that you need to change it to the point where you're eliminating all the great aspects of what made the manga great or the comic great or what no for the film or whatever, but you got to find a way to find some kind of balance. That's what it is. You got to find a balance that kind of works so that people can look at it and go, okay, we get the gist of it. And then maybe if we're interested enough, we can maybe you know investigate further so that you can look into the manga and stuff like that. That was how I felt with Evangelion. When I looked at it, I love the trope of the giant robot fighting against giant creatures, but everything else lost me. And I mean, it lost me in a sense where I was really genuinely confused by everything. I even had to go and get the books. I was like, let me go get the books. Let me read. I even went to Wikipedia. I mean, I didn't understand how anything. It was very confusing, and I think even the creators themselves were confused by what they were. Because honestly, the reason why I say that is because then why would you have to do so many different versions of it?
Right.
Think about it. I mean, people got to really sit back and think about that. When Akira came out, I knew anybody who read Akira knew that they weren't going to be. There's no way that you could do the full experience of Akira. You would have to read the book.
Mm-hmm.
That's understandable. But overall, the film did just enough to get the gist of it. So you can walk away and go, okay, yeah, that's the gist of it. You know, I understood it. I got it. It was easy to be able to take in, and people can understand it, and whatever. So you could just kind of move on and whatever. That's the same way I felt about Battle Angel Alita. I love Battle Angel Alita. I think the story's amazing, and I think that it's so there's a lot of stuff that goes in it and stuff like that. But also when it made the transition to be live action, I knew that there's going to be changes. I'm like, there's going to be changes. It has to be. It has to be. That's it. It's a new different medium. The only thing I was hoping that hopefully they can maintain the sort of feeling, some of the feelings of what the manga was. If they could just maintain a little bit of that, I'll be okay. I'll be all right.
Right.
And that's how I looked at it, and I was very happy with what I saw. I think with something like Evangelion, they struggled. I honestly think that they suffered from the same thing that the Matrix people suffered from. Was that I think they had something. Well, Matrix more so in the sense that I felt that they were shocked that they had such a massive hit, and then afterwards, because I mean I love the Matrix. I have the books and everything about it and everything. But I think that they had this massive hit, but they weren't prepared of it being. They weren't prepared for it to be a hit.
Right.
I think that honestly, I wish that they had just said, okay, it's a one-off. And then if they were going to have somebody else, if they would decide to do others, they should have had other people work on it. That's just my own personal opinion on that one. Because I think that after it was all said and done, it just got out from under them. I don't think they
Yeah.
even understand what it is now. I know, isn't that crazy how I just moved from like Battle Angel Leader to the Matrix? You know what's on my mind. But yeah, that's just my feeling. Does it mean that Evangelion is bad? No, of course not. I think that again, everyone has their own. They'll take what they can from it. That's just saying. My feeling on it is that I love the trope of it. I love that that what it brought to the what's the words I'm looking for? The word for what just to the genre of giant robots and kajus. I love that because I think it was important. But I also think that that it was a huge undertaking, and I think that they struggled a little bit, just a little.
Yeah.
So, but hey, man, it exists. Big O, same thing. I think Big O came out,
It was a great show.
great show,
Yeah.
but guess not that great for certain people. You know, it's unfortunate. Again, I think that Big O had a lot of great classic tropes about it. Um, but again, it's like for some reason it just didn't catch on, which was so funny. I always found it very fascinating because I thought it was really well done. I wasn't a big fan of the comic book. I forgot what company that ended up doing the comic book that was sent here. I wasn't a big fan of the artwork and how it was handled, but you know, hey,
The show did a really good job of combining a couple of genres like noir and
oh yeah,
kaiju.
oh I love that.
Yeah.
I thought and also I love the fact of how the creator or the person who worked on it, where they captured a little bit of that the sort of Batman
Yeah.
kind of feel of it from what's his name? Come on, from the Batman animated show. Paul Dini. That's what I'm
Hmm.
thinking. Paul Dini. Yep. So I loved all that. It's just amazing that people just kind of I don't know. It just wasn't received as well,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. But that happens, isn't that how it's that's what makes it very interesting and fun. When you look at stuff and you go, oh okay, you sit there and you go, well wow, that's people like that, but they don't like that one. Interesting. And what was the other show? Cartoon Network had what was the other one? Symbiotic Titan. You guys remember that show?
I don't remember that one.
Ooh, that was Cartoon Network. It was done by that guy. Shoot, he did Samurai Jack.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was done by him. I cannot say his name, so I'm not gonna even attempt to. I don't want to bastardize it. So, but you guys know what I'm talking about. He did Samurai Jack, and yeah, he did Symbiotic Titan, and I think they did. I feel like there was 2 seasons, maybe. And I loved it. I thought it was a great. It was like a homage to the. I feel like it was more closer to I don't know Grandizer, like the old super giant super robot
Hmm.
kind of trope and stuff, and I really enjoyed it. But unfortunately, it didn't last. So
Is that like Jin Tarkovsky or something like that?
exactly, you said it better than I would have. Yeah, yeah, and I don't know. He did Primal. Did you guys see Primal?
No, but I've heard good things about it.
Ooh, well, that was one of the reasons why me and Matthew did decided to go with Kajus and Cowboys. We because we sat down and talked about it. Me and Matthew have worked together, worked on some stuff. It's going on 6 7 years now, and Matthew was he was like Frank. He was like, I want to do something where it really, that I would really be into. Pretty much, he was like, oh, I want to do something, a story where it's, something that you're really into and whatever. And he was like, well, Frank, did you see that show Primal? And I was like, yeah. And Primal was a really good show. It no words, just straight on action between a
Wow.
caveman and a dinosaur. And
Nice.
he said, what if we could do that? I tried to do something similar, and I said, it works for me. And so that's pretty much where a lot of Codgers and Cowboys came from. And Codgers and Cowboys was really just a fluke, to be honest with you. I really, when he first mentioned it, I kind of was like, yeah, all right, let's just play around, play with the idea. And I remember when I started working on it, the first thought I came because I love westerns, I love the Lone Ranger, and I love Clint Eastwood, and and the Wild Bunch, all those classics and stuff like that. And the first thought I
Yeah.
came up with was I said Jet Jaguar meets Clint Eastwood and Machine Man. That was, I remember that popped up in my mind. It just I just weird thought popped up in my head, and I began working from there. And bingo bango, we started working on it. But the main emphasis was that we wanted to try to see if we could capture that feeling of primal, how primal was, but in comic book form.
That's
You
awesome.
know, so you know, and hence we're working on it now. Ugh.
Is there anything at all you can tell us about the book other than that?
The only thing I can pretty much say is it's the classic trope story is that it's an alien world, way off in some future. I can't actually, you know what? I can't tell people that that Codgers and Cowboys is almost an extension from a story that me and Matthew started, and it came out on a Wednesday.
Okay.
Through a ton, yeah, we started the story out, and it came out on a Wednesday called Team KS1. And the idea was that the Earth is pretty much overrun by these kajus. Pretty simple story. But what happened was the team, humanity has developed these sort of battle suits so that they can fight them. Now the difference is that I didn't want giant battle suits. I was like, ah, nah, nah. And even Matthew, he was like, ah, no, they're like specialized suits, Frank. So like what the military's trying to do. So I started looking online, doing reference and looking at what the military suppose concept ideas for military suit of the future, and and in my head I started seeing these images of an old TV show that I love watching called Centaurians.
Oh yeah.
So you had the Centaurians, and then I was like, yeah, and then I said I love Inhumanoids, and
Yeah.
Inhumanoids they had battle suits and stuff, and so I said, all right, I started drawing some sketches, and I said, well, what if they have these suits, that they have a baseline suit that they put on, sort of like an endoskeleton, um, that kind of you can see the mechanized arm and stuff like that. So but then they can add component pieces on it to enhance it. So it'd be like if you need a special gun, then you could connect it to your elbow. That's my whole thing. There's a thing that I've been sort of doing over the years is where it's not that I hate the idea of guns, robots holding guns in their hands. I just find it one of those things where, I see robots more in the context of how Iron Man is,
Right.
where Iron Man, you with a weaponry. That's my love of the old school robot. Like weaponry could come out their shoulder, they can come off their shins, they can come off their bullet missiles from their fingertips, that kind of thing. And
Right.
so I started thinking about KS1 and the design of the outfits, and I said, well, they can attach these parts onto them. They don't carry guns in their hands like guns like a handgun, but instead, if they have these guns that they connect to their elbow, then they can aim their arm and they can shoot it. And then if they run out, then they can just toss it off and then connect another one on, that kind of thing. So we did a few little stories, and it came out Wednesday. And I don't know. I never really found out what the reaction was. I think some people read it and stuff like that, but I really don't know how the reaction was. I guess people liked it. But anyway, from those stories, Matthews is kind of intertwining a little bit of that into Codgers and Cowboys. So now that we're on the far off future, where now the last remnants of humanity are going to an alien world that is, run by a ton of kajus, and so they send down these specialized robot hunter bots down to, technically wipe them out so that they can start terraforming. So that would probably be that in a nutshell. Like you like think of like
Nice.
if you had to send Terminators down
Right.
to clear out the citizens.
That's
Now,
cool, man.
now in the basis of that, the more complex side of the story comes, where I love the sense of Machine Man. If you read the Machine Man comics, especially Jack Kirby stuff, mm, excuse me, you have the whole idea of artificial intelligence and what happens with that, and do these robots have sort of like a sense of feelings, and do they even want to keep doing what they're doing, that kind of thing. So that ends up coming through as the story progresses. So I guess that's the gist of it.
Nice. That sounds really interesting.
Say it again.
So that sounds really interesting.
Well, yeah, I think the idea of the Cowboys, and I've talked with Matthew about it, is I said, man, the term cowboy, even though the main character Bewin is the classic trope of the he looks like the gunslinger kind of thing. It's actually the term cowboy. We're using the term cowboy to mean more of the idea of what a cowboy is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a tricky kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, if you're like some dude or woman who is doing really wild stuff, like I don't know, fighting a bunch of zombies or something, that could be a cowboy. You know, it's almost like think about Cowboy Bebop.
Right.
Those guys, our characters weren't dressed up in Western gear, but they were called cowboys, or they used the term Cowboy Bebop more in the
Right.
sense of the action. So I think that's where we're sort of taking that term with that. But yeah, it's pretty fun. I know for myself is I'm a huge fan of again I love Herb Trimpe's work, but I was always a huge fan of John Byrne, and
Mhm.
I loved how John Byrne would draw. I feel like he was always the artist who kind of was like a the next. I won't say the next step. I don't want to say the sense that somehow he's better, but he was almost like the you had Jack Kirby, and Jack Kirby had his time, and then John Byrne came into the '80s, and I think that he became that kind of like artistic force that was almost like the an extension of what Jack Kirby was doing. If you can understand what I'm saying
Yeah.
in that degree,
Yeah.
where he wasn't trying to emulate Jack Kirby, but his style of artwork was like he's almost like the guy who, if you open up his books, you feel like you're watching a movie.
Right.
And I mean, you're really watching a movie. Like you're seeing the in between stuff. You're seeing the stuff that any other artist would probably sit there and be like, I don't want to draw that. You know what I mean? Like it was like like I remember I ended up picking up some of the Alpha Flight volumes just because I loved Alpha Flight when it came out, and so I said, oh yeah, let me get the volumes. And there's a scene in Alpha Flight where the character Puck is in a hospital. This is after he had got slashed by Marina, and she had almost like disemboweled him pretty much. And he's in a hospital, and I guess a nurse comes up and she's talking about how some drugs are missing from the hospital in the area. So he's like, oh, okay, I mean, I'm not doing anything, so let me go check it out. And there's a scene where, in one panel, John Byrne shows. And now this is all drawn lenticular, so you see the after image of Puck movement. So he does multiple scenes of his movement, and Puck, he's coming in the room and he's like, all right, he's like, oh my god, I hear somebody coming, and so he runs and jumps up on a cabinet, but anybody else would have probably said, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna do some cuts. You draw the scene and you cut, and then next thing you know, he's up on the cabinet.
Right.
John Byrne, in one big panel, shows the lenticular movement of him running from the door and then jumping up on the cabinet. That's amazing.
Right.
Like you feel like he didn't even leave that out. He would draw stuff like that. Like you would get the scene of a character, or like when he would show some character punching something. The character wasn't just punching; you would see the rock explode. George Perez did the same thing, where you would see a rock just explode, like disintegrate in a punch. That's the kind of stuff that I grew up with, and I was like, man, I want to do that. I want to draw those kind of scenes. So yeah,
That's awesome.
but also during the time of the '90s, you had the time of like, well, Mike Mignola was around even in the '80s, but I love Mike Mignola's work, especially on Hellboy and stuff like that. Even some of his DC stuff. Were there like artists that you guys really liked, or?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think growing up, for me, Mark Bagley,
Oh yeah, yeah, yep, great
Ron
artist.
Lim,
Ah, Ron Lim, yes, yes.
Jim Lee.
Jim Lee, yep. Jim Lee with Scott Williams inking.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Scott Williams. I don't know if you ever seen Scott Williams. His work.
Yeah.
but he's a really, really amazing artist. It's like I don't know if people understand how integral like a really good inker can be.
Right.
I remember like Rob Stoll, and I would hang with Rob Stoll, and he would catch stuff like, which was great. Like he would be like, oh yeah, like if a say whatever the case, if an artist is they're under the gun and the deadline, and maybe they may have drawn something that just doesn't look just iffy, doesn't look right or whatever. He would catch it and ink it, and make it better. And that's the kind of thing with some of these inkers. They weren't just people who traced and whatever. They were in there and they were actually building up on stuff just in case if an artist missed something.
Right.
But
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So anyway, who else? It was Ron Lim and who else? Jim Lee.
Jim Lee, of course, like Michael Turner, Dave Finch, those
Oh
guys.
yeah, Dave Finch. I remember I had an original Dave Finch piece. That's another thing too. I don't know if you guys are art collectors. Are you art collectors or?
A little bit.
Afford it.
Yeah, I was hardcore, man. I love art. So yeah, I remember having some Dave Finch artwork. I had to see. It's funny because I always tell people if you're gonna be a collector, then somewhere down the line you may end up being a flipper too. Just because it's an investment. It is. It's like you got to
Right.
look at it in the terms of like if things ever get hard or whatever. Unless you're really wealthy and you can just keep buying stuff and you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff, then definitely not talking to you.
Right.
but if you get into it and things get rough, then yeah, you can flip artwork and whatever and sell. And unfortunately, I had to sell some great pieces. And I remember having I had a Dave Finch original piece. Um, yeah, it was nice. It was a nice piece. I got it earlier on, and I remember having a Neil Gaiman signed piece. I met Neil Gaiman. I was at there was a show at the Words and Pictures before they closed it, and I went to the show and stuff. And Neil Gaiman did a reading of one of his stories, and for one brief moment, I had went back. I don't know why I had gone back. I had left early or whatever to hang out at the where everybody was sort of congregating, and he came right through the door, and it was just me and him.
That's
And I
awesome.
was and I was like, "Whoa, dude!" I said, "Hey, what's happening?" And I remember I didn't have anything. I had like there was a pamphlet for like AIDS or something, but it had death on it. And I said, "Hey, would you mind signing this?" As I was talking to him, and he said, "Sure." And he was cool. He was a cool guy, man. I respected himself. But yeah, I had all kind of various artwork. But yeah, Dave Finch, I loved his work. Michael Turner, I never had any Michael Turner work.
I would have loved
Wish
to
I
own some of his. Yeah.
wish I did. Wish I did big time.
Yeah. I wish I had met him. I would have loved to just talk to him a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. It's like I had a chance to when I had a chance to briefly meet what was it Joe Kubert. Joe Kubert was really cool. I got to meet him really briefly. It was at a show in New York, and he was very like I would say almost the grandfatherly kind of type
Yeah.
aura about him. Because when he started talking to me, he kind of put his arm around me. Hey, kid. And I was like, yes, sir. And he just was really cool. And he just looked at my stuff and he was like, he said, be conscious of, your layouts and that kind of stuff. And I was like, yes, sir. And then when I met Mike Mignola, and this is early on and stuff, I think he was still doing a lot of Marvel stuff. He definitely understood that I was a person who loved using a lot of darks. He was like, "Yeah, you like using those darks?" I said, "Yep, I sure do." And he said, "Well, just be mindful of your positive and negatives in space." And I said, "Okay, sir." He said, "Don't call me sir." No, I'm just messing. Look at me, don't call me sir. But yeah, he was cool. Saw Jim Lee briefly, bumped into Jim Lee, and I remember I was like, "Hey, Jim," and he was like, he pointed to this massive line, and that was it. He's like, "You're not skipping a line, brother." And I said, "All right, dude. Yeah, we're good." But yeah, yeah. So yeah, there was a couple. Oh, June Brigman. I'm a huge fan of June Brigman. I loved her artwork. She did Power Pack. I don't know if you guys remember
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. I
She did.
remember
She,
that
she
one.
did a lot of stuff. She was an amazing illustrator. And then of course the big old famous Alex Ross himself.
Nice.
I remember. Well, I didn't. I know I never got to meet Alex Ross, but I tell you one thing. I remember when Alex Ross in his early days, because he did a lot of advertising work. He did a lot of stuff for Leo Burnett, which was an ad agency that was in Chicago. I believe in Chicago at the time, but they had other offices. And I remember reading when he was an interview where he was talking about it and stuff. And I knew, and I remember that feeling. I said, oh, I said, wait. I said, when you get somebody in advertising to work in comics, I said he's gonna kill it. And I knew that. I literally was like, he's gonna come in it with a different state of mindset. And I said, watch what's gonna happen. And it was true. Because
Yeah.
I think at the time he was doing Terminator and the Terminator stuff. And I said, he's gonna come in it with such a mindset that it's gonna rock the comic book industry. They're not gonna even know what to do with him. Because he's gonna come in it like, with the mindset of like getting his work out, crushing deadlines, that kind of thing. That's a lot different. I think that comic books, someone who's just done comic books is going to has ever encountered. It is because it is a different kind of monster,
Yeah.
advertising and stuff. So once he went in, look what happened. He at this point now he just does what covers.
Yeah.
He's probably the only artist I've ever seen who's done like an actual poster for like the Oscars.
That's awesome.
I remember when that poster came out, I was like, whoa. I said, oh my God, man, he's on another level now. I remember going to San Diego Comic-Con and just looking through some of his work, and he had like this is how big you are when you don't even have to show up, but you have people there. That's big when you got people there representing you and your artwork. And I mean, these dudes were like hovering around this massive table that had all of his artwork that's selling for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing. It's like, oh yeah, dude, you're on a whole nother level. But you know what? He earned that. He did that. It's not like it wasn't like it was given to him. He worked his butt off. So I think many times new artists have to gotta understand it. You gotta put your dues in, man.
Right.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. What else? What else can we talk about, guys? More kaiju stuff? My favorite kaiju? Who's my favorite kaiju? I don't know.
Who is your favorite kaiju?
That's a good question. God, I would probably say my favorite would be Gamera. Gamera the Flying Turtle.
Hmm.
And my reasoning behind that is that when I've always thought about Godzilla, as much as I love Godzilla too, I've always loved characters, and this goes right back to even Marvel, like the character like the Thing, for instance. The Thing is Ben Grimm is like the brawler, the guy who fights with the heart kind of thing.
Right.
And when I always looked at Gamera, if you ever watched the Gamera movies, Gamera always reminded me of like a Ronin. How I imagine how a Ronin, somebody who's fighting. He just fights. He's getting sliced up, and he's just like, oh my God, he's just going through it, trying to get the job done. Godzilla has always been treated more as like this force of nature,
Right.
who comes in and just like, am I really being a hero to Japan? Am I really? It's like, when the early Gamera stuff came out, Gamera definitely was like, this sort of anti-hero. Well, his first movie, he wasn't. He was definitely a threat that woke up from the Arctic or whatever, and then he was attacking humanity and stuff like that. But then later on in the films, they made Gamera more of like this anti-hero kind of stuff. And that's always one of the things that I always loved about Gamera, was that the appeal of he would fight, he would get jacked up. Something about that I love. I'm one of those old school people who I love two-fisted kind of justice. I'm not a big person on somebody having extreme power and then they wave their finger and then they can just wipe out a galaxy. I like the underdog.
Right.
I like the journey. I like the fact of somebody who has to fight to try to, against insurmountable odds. Oh, thank you. Jeez. Woo. Oh, this New England accent, huh? But they got to fight against these odds, and then somehow they're able to defeat whatever this thing is. But I mean, they giving it everything they got, everything. I mean, for me, a hero is like somebody who's a good scenario would be remember in Infinity War, the movie?
Yeah.
And that scene where Thanos is fighting against Captain America near the end, and
Yeah.
Captain America It's like Thanos is like pushing Captain is pushing Thanos' hand, and is at one moment if you stop the frame where Thanos looks at Captain America, and it's almost like he respects Captain America, but he's like, this dude's crazy. I can kill this guy, and he just punches him, but you know that he could have killed him. He could have killed Captain America. I don't know if people like for me, I saw that I was like, yeah, he could have just knocked his head off. He could have just killed Captain America, but he punched him hard enough to knock him out. But there's that moment where he sees Captain, and I mean the way Chris Evans, the way his face is, Captain America, he's straining against him and trying to fight against this guy who literally can just wipe him out like nothing. That was stellar for me. I was like, yep, that's what I like. I like stuff like that because then I have something to root for.
Right.
I can't root for something if it's like, okay, I have the power. Like for a good instance is you guys know about Gurren Lagann, right? You ever heard of Gurren Lagann?
I've not.
Well, I remember stumbling on Gurren Lagann, and season one. Okay, I got through season one, and I was like, all right, cool. And I watched it. Season threw me, and it was and in the worst way. Like I refuse to ever watch it again. Just because there was one scene where I need to this day I don't even understand what happened. Where the characters grew to like they grew to the size of universes, and they're hurling galaxies around.
What?
Yeah, I kid you not. I just literally they were hurling galaxies at each other, and I'm sitting there, and there was this part of my mind where I'm just like, what happened? Like I'm like, so you mean billions are dying? Is that why? That's those are those times where I go, hey, it's a little too much, just a little. Or if you're gonna do better, then maybe explain in context what you mean. Is it metaphorical? Because what you're showing me is that they're throwing galaxies at each other. And I think sometimes with a lot of when I look at some of the newer manga, there's this sense where it's like you're seeing extreme levels of power being demonstrated, and yeah, I guess on a cool factor, yeah, I guess it's cool, but I don't understand what the messaging is about. I think that's the thing, and maybe that's why I'm showing my age. For me, I understand stuff when it's sort of laid out. When someone goes, okay, here's the good guy, bad guy, and they're fighting, like in Star Wars. Okay, there's the Empire, and then there's Luke and the Rebels, and they're fighting. I get that. Like it's the easiest thing. Star Trek, yeah, they're Federation, and they're fighting, and then yeah, there's these different little things going on inside there. I get that. Some of this other stuff I can't get when you're trying to be so complex that only maybe a small number of people get it, and then everybody else is left sort of scratching their head, going, what happened here? What? So I don't know. I don't know if that's good business sense. I don't know. That's where I struggle with that, because I'm going, okay, if you only factor in a small number of people to like it, yeah, then you're going for a niche market. Don't you want to sell to a larger market? I don't know. So that's where sometimes I scratch my head on certain things. I mean, hey, everyone has a right to do what they want to do. I always find my peace, and I go, well, Frank, well, here's the thing. They have a right to do what they want to do. If that's the outcome they want, more power to you. I just know for myself, I seen it once and I've never watched it again. I was like, once is enough for me. I'm good.
Wow. Yeah, I never even heard of that one.
Yeah. I don't know. I love it more. I think that even if you keep your story and your characters simple enough, then whatever story, as the story goes, depending on how long you write your story or do your story, then I think those complex things can be added in there. Like Wolverine. You take a character like Wolverine, who was very simple back in the day. He was just a guy, and he had claws. If someone had the picture, be like, yep, he's got a little attitude with him. Simple. By now, I don't know what Wolverine is. I have no clue what Wolverine is. I've seen pictures of Wolverine having flame claws.
What?
Yeah, I think at one point he might have had. I saw an image. Someone posted an image, and I said, "What?" I was the same way. What? Flame claws. I know he had the bone
he had like a
claws.
cybernetic mask or something recently.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know why, but again, it's one of those things where okay, it's like, why not just create a new character then?
Right.
Yeah.
Why not just create something new? Well, see that therein lies the I would say the issue with legacy characters, and it's tough. I guess it's tough for them because they've invested so much into the IP that
Right.
there's almost like this fear where it's like, oh, okay, we can't get rid of these characters. So we got to keep, trying to throw whatever we can against the wall to see if it'll stick. To the to I feel the detriment of the character.
For
Right.
sure.
Because I mean, hey, we've all been there where we try to throw stuff against the wall, but eventually it might dilute it so much that it just becomes useless. I don't know. I, so yeah, that's kind of weird. Wolverine has a mask. Well, what you said, cybernetic mask? You say?
Yeah, it looks kind of like it's from Tron or something. Like it's got like these racing,
Wow.
what do you call it? Like circuitry or something.
Well, I know that. Well, there's for me because I'm drawing a lot. I've gotten to listening to Audible and stuff like that, and also for YouTube shows. What
Hmm.
happens is I'll listen to some of them just to sort of catch up. And there was a guy I know I forgot what his name is, but he talks about a lot about comic books and stuff like that. So I've been catching up on a lot of these comic books. Like he's pretty good sometimes in explaining about some of the stories. But I know that they've explained how the recent X Men where they're like immortal or they can't die.
Yeah, they've got these pods that bring them back to life if they die.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there going, wow.
Just sucks all the tension out of the stories.
Well, yeah. Well, it takes away from that whole threat thing where you can just be like,
Right.
well, I can kill a character off, and it's like now it's like, okay, well, we know that they can just now just bring them back, and it's like, I don't know, man. Like I feel like if you're gonna, if I kill a character off, then the character should die. I think that's the good thing about, in a sense, of mangas. The pros of mangas that I've seen and how Japan has dealt with their stuff is that they haven't really changed the formula. They've remained kind of consistent. They do these massive mangas. Many of them aren't they still on newsprint? I think.
Maybe I think so.
I think that it's a really cheap cost, and
Yeah,
and they do these stories and that's it. I don't know how the pay. Hopefully, the pay has increased for many of these artisans that are working on them. I would hope that they have, but I think that how they handle it, the formula of it, is pretty much consistent. I don't know. Have you guys read any recent mangas?
no, I
Yeah,
haven't.
I haven't.
Nope. I think I've read. I've been reading a lot of the. There's the Ultraman ones that have come out. I've liked those. There's a new one called Kaiju 8. I'm kind of mixed on it. I got the first one, but it's a little mixed kind of thing on it. I found myself going back to the classic, more Western comic books. Actually, that's untrue. I actually ordered some old Astro Boy stuff.
Oh yeah,
Some of the yeah, some books that are showcasing the old school Astro Boy strips.
Nice.
So it's like I'm literally building up a ton of stuff that I got to read. That's what it is for me.
Yeah. But how do you find the time?
Well, that's it. I mean, I try to tell people that you got to be realistic and you got to look at production time. It is because it's a real thing, especially as artists. And we got to be able to look at our time and be able to say, okay, I'm a married man, so me being married to my wife is very important to me. So I got to find time for that. And, hey, I got to find time for that. I got to find time for my own mental energies, so that I'm
Right.
not like straining myself or having some kind of breakdown because you're just like freaking out because you're doing a ton of stuff. Been there, done that. I didn't have a major breakdown, but I'm just saying that I understand how it can get kind of insane a little bit because you're taking on so much.
Right.
So you know, and my own initial wellness. So yeah, you got to make sure that you give some time to yourself to be able to do the best that you can. If you want to be able to put out quality work, and that's the key thing, solid quality work at a reasonable time, then you gotta listen to your body. All right. Wow,
that's a good
man.
point.
Let me zoom in on you here, Frankie. Let's see how your drawing's
Whoa.
doing. Very nice.
Oh man. Just sit and pitch out, and then what I'll do is this is the old sneaky little draw a little smoke in the back. Don't worry about it. Make it messy because smoking is supposed to be pretty. and just where we at time wise? Wow, we're past the time. Wow, look at us.
About 2 hours.
Yeah, of course my friggin' phone was screwing up. I'm definitely I seriously I'm definitely gonna be looking into a camera though. I have to. It's a
Yeah.
good, you know what? It's a great write off too. That's another thing that I
There you
see a
go.
lot. Well, that's another thing. Like I see a lot of people doing a lot of these crowdfunders, and you know what pops in my mind is I go, are these people aware that like say if you do a crowdfunder right and you get like 30 grand, say it's 30 grand that you get, are they also looking at the fact that you got to pay taxes?
Right.
That you're also going to be having to cover minus the fact that you got to cover the fact of distribution, and I don't know if you're paying your people, paying your artists or your production staff. Let's just say that. Say hypothetically you already paid for your production, you still got to pay for your distribution. But what about taxes? Is anyone talking about that?
Right.
And what the taxes are going to be on stuff like that.
Yep.
That's the kind of stuff that people got to start looking at when you're if you think about going that route of crowdfunding and stuff like that. You really got to be conscious of that because yeah, it feels all great and dandy because you're creating something, but if you're not mindful of that, that'll creep up on you.
Definitely.
Yeah, they'll come for that money. That's for every freelancer out there. You got to respect the taxes.
That's right. And they'll come get you.
Yo, they will. I just sent my stuff off. I talked to my tax person and stuff like that, and you gotta do it. You know, you have to because you're not in that realm of just drawing, and oh, it's all great and whatever, and we're just drawing for the heck of it. It's like when you start looking at expenses, that's one of the reasons why. I don't know if you guys still do a lot of shows like Comic Cons and things like that, or have you cut back?
Not really. Definitely cut back since the pandemic.
Yeah, same thing. Like I remember years ago, I used to do shows and stuff like that, and I never forget. Like I went to one of my final shows where I sat back and I left it, and it was like literally I kind of broke even somewhat, and I remember that because of that show, I lost a really good high paying gig, man. And
Yeah.
that ate at me, man. I'm not gonna lie. Look, this isn't about me, about the fans and stuff like that. It's just the fact that I make my living drawing.
Right.
And if you go to a show and you can't make back at least something extra, you can't just do even. You got to make something to justify why your expenses. I mean, let's be honest. If you're doing big shows, especially the big ones, I mean, I'm talking like New York or San Diego Con and stuff like that. That's not cheap. If
Nope.
you're not living there, if you factor in expenses or travel, that's
Yeah.
big bucks, man. You're talking it could be thousands, not that
Yeah.
thousand, but I mean it could be thousands of dollars. Now, as an unknown person, you have to try to make that up.
Yep.
And I don't care. No one out there can ever tell me that you're just in it. Oh, this is just fun and it's whatever. You try losing $1,000, even $500, even $300. You start losing it. How's that fun? And you're on the other side of the table. It's fun if you're like somebody going there to visit the con and you got $300 in your pocket and you get to go and buy some swag. Yeah, that's fun. But it can't. There's no way you're gonna tell me that that's fun. That you spent all that money for, your whatever your expense for traveling there, your food, just for the supplies, your prints, and all this stuff, and then you walk away and you've made less than.
Right.
There's no way. I'll tell anyone out there, you have to be much more smarter. The shows are getting so expensive now. They are not like when I remember going to shows, it was a lot cheaper, so much more cheaper. Artist Alley was definitely a very much more strong, viable place where people would go, and they would at least um, buy artwork from new up and coming people, engage it and stuff like that. Uh, and I just don't see that at a lot of shows now.
Yeah.
Especially, and that's untrue. I'm starting to see a lot of smaller shows that you're starting to see that stuff, which is very nice. It's bringing it back to the more simple. You go there, you get to meet people, and then you can talk about your book, and people can get introduced to new stuff. But anyway, sharing those crazy thoughts.
Yeah. Oh, it's all very true. I mean, nowadays most of the shows are more like pop culture shows rather than comic book shows.
Yeah. Well, like, what made you guys? Well, made you do this channel? What was the inspiration?
I think for us it was the fact that we were going to come out with a campaign, so we
Okay.
needed to build an audience
Nice.
and
Good.
just kind of get the word out there and just practice being in front of people too, because as artists we're not very social.
Yep. Which is important. Which is
Yeah,
actually, and again, I'm more in the belief that I don't think every artist or even every writer has to be a character.
yeah,
I just don't. I think that if you're real and you're just like, hey, look, this is your whatever. I was, hey, I was born in Appalachia, or I was born in the projects or whatever. You're just being true. I think people can see that.
yeah.
I genuinely believe that there are people out there. I don't care where you come from. I came from the projects, but I bet you my story could be just as similar as somebody who was born poor in the Appalachian Mountains or whatever. Who knows? I don't know. Even anywhere, it could be poor anywhere place or
No,
whatever.
definitely.
There's always a connection there, and the major connection is we like drawing, we
Yeah,
like comics, we like movies and stuff like that. I think that if you do that, people will come.
yeah.
I don't think you have to always be like, oh, okay, look at me, I'm Mr. Character today.
Right.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
you know
and just the other big thing was the pandemic, and we weren't doing any shows, and so this was a way to still connect with people.
no, I think it's very smart. I always tell people that advertising and promotion, people always think, oh yeah, I got to spend a ton of money for advertising and promotion. No, there's a thing called guerrilla marketing. It is the cheapest form of promotion and marketing. You have to actually, do some research and strategize. But when I say that, it's not as complicated. It's really just sitting back and whatever extra time you may have and look at and seeing how other people are doing this stuff.
Right.
Just from seeing how Peter had handled himself with Will Turner, I've learned so much.
Yeah.
And I'm somebody who worked in the industry. Some of the stuff that he's done with his campaigns and other people as well. Rob Geronimo, who you guys had on here,
Yeah.
seeing how Rob has he communicates with people, how he's interacting. I've learned so much. That's what guerrilla marketing is. It's not about like it's one of those things where I remember when I left art school, I remember telling my teachers and stuff. I said, well, anything else I learn, I'm gonna have to learn from life. That was it. I was like, school is good, but I didn't want to end up being one of those people who always goes to school all the time. You're just paying money, throwing money at colleges and stuff like that. I always feel like life is one of the best teachers. You
Definitely.
can you can learn so much. It's so much stuff out here, but you got to be open to learning. You can't shut your off, and it has to be diverse too. It can't just be one segment like your own safe little net of friends or family or whatever. You have to be open to go talk to anybody out there, and so that something in there, some little nugget that they may have that they can offer. You pick it up, and you go, that might work. maybe I'll do something. I would say that's probably one of my biggest strengths right there. I never was somebody who shut myself off from just meeting different people. I'm always fascinated by meeting different people, hearing their different stories and stuff like that. If it's somebody who I don't feel I'm learning anything from, I'll excuse myself and be like, okay, I'm on my merry way. Wish you well. Take care of yourself. Handle your business. I'm off. Because to me, I don't feel like I can learn anything from that. That's just eating up my time, and I think maybe it's eating up their time. So I
Right.
move on. I don't make a big stink about it.
Hey, Justin, let me get you on the single layout here.
Sure.
All right. Oh wow, look at that.
Hold that to the camera. Yeah.
Whoa,
Very nice.
that is beautiful. And you
Thank
guys
you.
came. You guys came with the A game, man. I love it. Hey, playing around.
That is interesting looking. I like that head.
Thanks.
Yeah. Wow. See, that's what I'm talking about. That this makes me so happy because it's like the genre. Yeah, because the thing about it is that there's so many different ideas, man, with this
Yeah.
genre, and like everyone, no, not one person has the right answer. My style is just one style, but your style, look at that. I'm looking at that going, I'm gonna steal that. No, no, dude. No, no, no. But I look at that and I go, hmm.
Yeah.
It inspires me. But that's my point. It inspires, and that's what it should be about.
Yeah.
No one should look at what somebody's doing and be like, oh my god, I can't draw like that person. No, don't draw. Don't try to draw like them. Have have your own voice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
Thank you.
Oh, look at this other one looming over the city. That you been?
Yeah, that's me.
Wow, dude. I love the perspective. The hands looming over. Isn't that classic? Remember the old school comics, man?
Right.
I
That
love
is,
stuff. Even in animes, like in the animes, they would do like the character sort of floating above everything, laughing maniacally, and you see the hero or whoever's in danger, or the city or the world, they'll be in danger and they're just looming over it. Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah. See, I didn't draw a helicopter, but I drew this house in with these people standing in the foreground.
No, oh no, you did a great job. No, right there, that the size comparison is there. You know, I say helicopter, but anything as long as you have something to give a size comparison is important because it just helps to set it apart. All right, let's see. Pull this out. Yeah, I'm just going nutty now. I'm just cross hatching crazy. Look what you guys did to me. I'm like, oh my god, look at the work they're doing. Jeez, I love it. So what kind of future? What you got some future artists coming on and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, I've actually got Fabrizio coming on next week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, he's oh he. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that he's starting to get out there and put his stuff.
He's a phenomenal artist.
Yes, yes,
I'm excited for his book.
yes. Me too. You know, I scored some of his original art, man.
Oh, nice, man.
Yeah, to the chagrin. What is it? Chagrin of some of the other bidders. I think that's what like we just had that recent art auction and you know I jumped in. I told people I said I struggle with the fact of not buying stuff
Yeah.
because there's that part of me as a collector. I'm like I want to get in on this too, even though I'm on there, you know, selling some of my own art. And
That
so you know,
reminds me, I wanted to tell you, I absolutely love the card you did of H. Hoover.
oh nice, thank you so much. Yeah, it was kind of fun. He that was a commission from the Alterner was it Winter campaign?
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I'm telling people right now you should definitely jump on there if you can and so you can get some commissions. I'm finding that that's a great way to sort of get some of that artwork. I actually had a I commissioned Rob Geronimo to do a picture, image of Bwin from Kaijus and Cowboys,
Nice.
and it looked phenomenal. Yeah, another thing was pretty wild. I don't know if you guys saw that post that I did where I did an art trade, which is one of those few things you know I hadn't done anything like that in years. But I said, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna ask, and I reached out to Kenneth Rocafort,
Oh,
and
cool.
yeah, and honestly, I'll admit, I even admitted to him, I didn't know who he was.
Really?
I had seen, yeah, I had seen his name, and I always saw a few of his videos, and it perplexed me because I'm like, how is he getting all these people on these small little videos? Like, I mean, his videos are like what? They're seconds. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I'm like, how is this possible? So I said, okay, let me do my research. And this was after the fact because I had DM'd him a few times on Twitter, and you know, and the thing I learned about Kenneth is that he doesn't talk a lot. He doesn't say much. So I was like, all right, it was mostly me talking. So I was like, hey man, what's up? Frankie B here, and I said, hey, I'd like to do a swap with you if you're cool with that. I think that was last year. I was like, yeah, if you're cool with that, we can do that. And he was like, yeah, sure. And I said, all right, cool. So then early this year, I just said, you know what? I got a little bit of free time. So let me just jump in on this. I said, let me ask him. So he said, okay, cool. And so he said, what do you want? I said, well, hey, man, this is my character, co-created with Matthew. And I sent them some images, sent him some images. And so I wasn't really expecting him to really go, you know, all out, you know. But clearly he did. Because then he immediately sent me that. And I said, yo, dude. It was all full, full color, beautiful rendering of him in action. And I said, oh boy. I said, okay. I said, all right, you kicked it up. And so I said, let me just check again, because I still at this point I hadn't really, I'd only heard about him because of all the stuff, inside on the internet and stuff. So I said, okay, let me do some searching. And I might ask him if he wanted me to draw anything, and he just never, for whatever reason, he would never really respond and tell me. And I said, all right, dude. I said, let me go online and do some investigation. So I finally found some interviews that he had done, and he had mentioned how he wished that he had had a chance to draw Lobo. And I said, okay, I can work with that. So, because I said Robo's a bounty hunter, and I said I could probably have a picture with Bwin and Lobo chilling after they've, killed a kaiju or whatever, some maybe a bounty hunter thing. And so I just went ahead and drew that as a puzzle card. So I kind of upped them. I did a puzzle card, which is fine. I said that's fine. I wanted to show him that this is how I go too. You push the bar up, I'm gonna push the bar up.
Right.
So anyway, he did that piece and I showed it, and then people were just like, "Oh my God, it's Kenneth Rocafort," and I was like, "Wow!" And then I started doing research on him, and I saw that he did a lot of stuff in the field, and I was like, "Wow, dude!" I said, "Well, hey," I said, "Right on." I said, "Well," I said, "Thank you very much." He liked the piece. I was very happy with what I got, and hopefully down the line, maybe we'll do some other stuff.
That's really cool, man.
But I love the fact, again, that's that whole thing I learned from my one of my teachers, my mentors, where he just said, Frank, it doesn't hurt to ask. Don't be afraid to reach out to people and whatever. If they say no, then fine, be gracious and be like, all right, fine, I understand, and then you move on. But you never know. There's a lot of artists, and myself included, who are open. If it works out, if it's schedule wise and stuff like that, you ask and be like, all right, let's see, cool. So that
That's
was a fun
awesome.
one. So yeah, I love artwork, and I love sketch cards. So that's another thing too. I always tell Pete I'm very happy to see so many people who are reading comics doing sketch cards, because I love doing sketch cards, but I always felt uh, that sketch cards weren't being, at the time when I was doing it, wasn't really being pushed toward the comic book market. Because I remember I did a lot of the forums and stuff, and I would always be that voice. I wasn't the only voice, but I would always be like asking that question, like, why are you not like reaching out to more like comic book people that are reading comics, maybe to tell them about sketch cards and how they are their original artwork from really talented artists and stuff like that, and maybe they might jump on this. And you know, many times there would be some discussion, other times there'd be crickets.
Right.
And so I just kind of was like, all right, I'm not gonna. It is what it is. That most times I'll just be like, it is what it is, and I just move on. And that's when I kind of moved on to the Kaju's Colossal Kaju Combat trading card set, and after that it just was that was it. I didn't do many sketch cards for a long time. I mean, occasionally I had some people who remembered the work that I had done on some sets like Transformers. I worked on Transformers on a Transformers set, and I had a lot of people who would contact me to commission me to work on, do some cards, work on the card stock that they had, or if I actually had some, that kind of stuff. But it was never like actual sets from any companies for a long time. I think my most recent one, I actually got back into it, and just because it was Ultraman, I got back into doing some sketch card art for Ultraman, and I actually did some. They got a second set that's going to be dropping. I think, I don't know, a couple of months, and I did some work on that one as well.
Nice.
All right, let's see. Oh
That's looking
man.
good, Frankie.
Oh, this is just me just rambling too. Jeez. There's no focus, no thought. Just like, just. Well, you know what? It's like I've noticed, because I've been looking at various, getting back in even the mangas too, and I love a lot of manga inking effects,
Yeah.
speed lines, and stuff like that. And I've been finding that I've been getting back to the old school. I used to love doing cross hatching. Oh man, love cross hatching, and I've been finding myself doing that. Another thing I used to do a lot was, but when it was available, was working with Letrotone. Oh,
Oh yeah.
but I try to tell people again, Letrotone, they don't make Letrotone anymore. They do have another one that I haven't started playing around with. forgot the name of it. It's sitting somewhere in a drawer. But once I get the time, I want to play with it and see how I like it. So I haven't really played with it yet, but it is time consuming, and I've had many cuts because you're working with an X-Acto knife. You're working with an
Right.
X-Acto blade, and so there's a lot of nicks and stuff like that. It can be time consuming. So that's something that I always tell people. I go, yeah, it's like something not. I have a love hate for it. It looks great when it's on original artwork and you get these beautiful gray tones. Like say you get a piece like this, and then if I added some tone on this and right here, and you do some fade, oh, that looks wonderful. You go, oh man, that's beautiful. But it's a headache.
Right.
You know.
So how does that work, Frankie? Does it have like a adhesive back, or is it something you rub off onto the sheet?
Yeah, yeah. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can grab some. Oh, let's see. Stretch, Frank. Okay, here you go. All right, here you go. I'm about to bring some right now. Please, camera, hold on. Do not mess up. All right, this would be a sheet of Lectratone. Here, let me
Okay.
go this way. And I got this camera. Let me move this. Okay, here you go. So this is Lectratone. And what would happen? Um, Letraset product printed in England. This is an old sheet too. I think I actually purchased it from a somebody who actually has some on eBay.
Okay.
The problem is your number over here that would give you what the I forgot what it is. It was it would give you the number of what the gradation
Okay.
would be. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
This would be like so it'd be LT 53, but then it might be LT 53 80%.
Okay.
You see what I mean? So there was always a gradation. This was a 40% right here. This is the only one I could get. I remember I used to work with a much more lesser percentage years ago. The problem with Letraset or Letratone is that it's not being made anymore. This is the stuff that's being made now, and I bought a ton of it on Amazon. Again, I have not broken this out, so these are still in their pack. Let's see if you guys can see this. This is what's being made now,
Okay.
and it's called a deleter screen. And I saw it. I have not played with it. I even purchased this too. This is a burnisher, and so
Nice.
I just haven't had the chance to really sit down and play with it, just to see what kind of effects or how it is. But again, Letratone is really like you pull it off, very careful. You pull it off. I used to back in the old days. I used to have a burnisher, which was a tool that had like a little, had a little, uh, had a little nib on the end where you can kind of burnish it onto it.
Okay.
If you want to say like if you had this edge right here and you want to burnish it a little bit on there to push it down so it can stick onto the actual paper. I lost it, and they don't make them anymore, which sucks, um, big time. But anyway, once you put Lectratone on, it definitely it's really about you cutting it with X-Acto knife, and you got pieces, and sometimes a piece may not work, so you try to save that, and sometimes they'll blow all over the place. I've had Lectratone. It's almost like gold leaf. I don't know if you ever
Okay.
dealt with gold. Yeah, like like a headache gold leaf is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. It's a complete nightmare.
Gotcha.
Because if you gold leaf, it's expensive. First off, gold leaf is expensive,
Yes,
and
it
then
is.
if it flakes, you're like, oh my god, no. So yeah, but again, looks great.
Yeah,
Looks great when it's applied.
that's right.
So once I get the free time, and I can play around with this new stuff, then I'll see how it is. And see what happens. That's the whole point of art, right? You got to experiment. You want to try
Right.
to. For me, it's all about getting out the comfort zone. Not getting locked into one way of doing something.
Yeah, you don't want to get stale.
Exactly. All right.
Try something new.
All right, guys. I think I'm gonna wrap it. I'm gonna have to wrap it up around 3.
Oh
Is
yeah.
that fine?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, and again, I apologize, guys. This definitely because of this incident with my phone, it's definitely made me. Yeah, I'm gonna be looking. I'm gonna be looking for a camera. I got to. It's a good investment because again, my whole purpose was I sat there and I said, well, how many videos I'm gonna do? Well, guess what? I've been doing a lot of videos, and so it'd be kind of nice to be able to have something that's separate
Mhm.
from the phone. Even though it's amazing, like I was telling my wife Jess, I said, "Hon," I said, "think about it. I've lived. She's lived too, but I've lived through 8-track tapes, Sony Walkmans, literally, flip
Yeah.
phones, pagers. I had a pager at one point. I've lived through these to actually live to have a device in my hand that can take a picture, can compute a calculator. I can go on the internet with it. I can film recordings with it. That it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And that's been in the breath of the 52, well, I won't say 50, but I was 70. So say like 40 years that I've lived, maybe in the breath of that. This is what I've lived and
Right.
experienced. It's crazy. It's
It's
mind-boggling.
crazy. Yeah.
So you makes you wonder in the next 40 years or 50 years, how's the world's going to be? The technology.
Yeah.
My only thing is I hope that what we're doing here doesn't become antiquated.
Yeah.
That's why I hope that there's still going to be artists who can still illustrate on paper, or that can still sculpt with their hands, um, on stone, rock, clay, whatever it is, that you can still be able to draw physically. I just think that we need to have that. As much as we still have computers, and computers are a wonderful tool, I just something about drawing um, by hand, or doing something by hand. There's a magic to it. There's a it's this wonderful imperfection
Right.
that even like right now, what we're drawing right now, this is beautiful imperfection.
Yep.
It is from all three. We're sitting here drawing with our hands, creating something that didn't exist a few hours ago, and it's not straight lines. It's not, there's no nothing's perfect. My buildings, I didn't sit here and measure how my ruling of my buildings. I use my eyes. It's like, those are the kind of things that I think we still need to have. That as much as we need to have stuff that, again, you use it for architecture and make sure the lines are straight and everything looks great, and whatever, we need that too. But we also need the fact of people being able just to draw and freestyle, and
Yeah.
that's important. All right.
That looks great, Frankie.
Wow. Woo. Oh man. Oh, I don't know. Here, let me. Do you guys use gel pens for your
Yeah.
white?
Yeah.
I do. You also use what's this? Presto?
No, I've never
You ever
used
use
that.
that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Let's see if I can dabble out some stuff. It's funny because I've been using Presto for years, and I remember I saw a video with Jim Lee. It was so awesome, and he broke out the Presto. He said, "Yup." He said, "I use my Presto." Presto's just like the thing about Presto, unfortunately, is that it doesn't allow for a lot of good control. So if you're gonna do Presto with art, you gotta have a really, it doesn't have to. You gotta think in your mind that it's not gonna be super perfect. But I tend to use it when I want to put light effects. You know what I mean? See that?
Yeah.
So if you want to do like things like that, or I don't know, if you want to just cause little effects, I'll do some stuff in here. Like if I wanted to make it a little bit of ugly in there. Yeah, there you go. And then if I want to get a little fine tune, I break out my what do we got here? I found this little baby. I love it too. I go through so many of them. What is it? I'll put it up here. Excuse me. The Signa. You guys see that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got that signal.
Oh, there you go. I stumbled up on this, and because for a long time I was doing especially when I was doing sketch cards, I was going using Pro White with a what is it, Pro White with my
With your brush.
brushes. Your
Yeah.
brush. Oh, what a nightmare! I still have like brand new Pro White just sitting in my drawers, and yeah, you had to mix water with it and try to get your consistency, and oh, what a I
Yeah.
like Pro White when I was doing washes. If you want to
Okay.
get that nice kind of muddy effect and stuff like that, then
Yeah.
yeah, I like it for that. But for the more fine line stuff, yeah, I like this. This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
much
Then
more
if you don't get
faster.
that washed out of your brush, it'll just kill your brush.
Oh yeah, sure will. Sure will. All right. Let me just come in here. I remember my teacher always said, Frank, you got to know when to let it go. And I think I'm reaching that point. Let it go. Throw a little smoke in there, whatever. Start talking like Bob Ross. He's just throwing little trees in there. And he's
Your little
amazing.
fuzzy
Oh, he's amazing, man. Oh, I'm telling anybody, if you ever feel like you're having a horrible day, put some Bob Ross on and just chill, man. Oh, his voice alone, nice, pretty. It's like, there you go, just some little trees, little speckles, just a little bit of speckles of the struck in here. Just something. There you go, building. You're just a little. You're gonna fall down. He's gonna destroy you. Little lights in there.
Love it.
Oh, guys, I don't know. Let me see where we at. 10 more minutes. What can I do? What can I add in this? Huh? Oh, if I had my big cope, I'll just throw a big swatch of red back there. I don't have one in my big. Let me see. Oh, you know what I got? You know what I found? I'm getting nutty now. I ordered these pens, right, from Amazon, and I thought they were just gonna be these colored gel pens, but they
Yeah.
became they were like sparkly. Oh, here you go.
Oh, really?
Tau tree. And
That's
I was like, screw it, man. I see my mentality is like, screw it. If I bought it, I gotta use it.
Yeah.
So here, let me see. Let me see how they work. All right, let's see. Hopefully, it didn't dry either. That's the crappy part with these things is that they. All right, here you go. I brought my little boy. Let's see what happens. See if we can get in there. Pull that down a little bit. I'll just add a little gold in there. Yeah, there you go. That's the crappy part too with I find with scanners is that when I do a lot of my sketch card work and I post it, I don't think a lot of people can really catch that I'm using. Can you see that? I'll bring it up closer.
Oh yeah, yeah, I see that.
You know,
Nice.
yeah. See, it's like sometimes that gets lost. Where it's like, yeah, if the person gets the card, they'll see it. They'll see how, like, it's all sparkly and stuff like that. Yeah, it's kind of fun. There you go. Then you add a little highlight to pump that out a little bit. I definitely, when I tell people when I color old school. Like I color like a back in the old days of 2D animation, just because with my artwork I tend to do a lot of heavy blacks as you can see. So what my mindset is like I'm treating it as if it's an animation cell. So it's like I try to keep my color palette really simple. It's almost like Hellboy,
Right.
very simple flat colors because there's so much detail in here. I don't need to get so crazy with trying to put too much gradation and stuff in it.
Right.
That's just my feeling. I've had some people color my work. Some I've been happy about. Some others I go, "Ugh," you know. Um, but that's just the process.
Yeah.
All right, here I'm gonna put some little green in here. Yeah, that's cool, huh? Yeah.
Looks good.
All right. All righty. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Hanging out with Ben and Justin. Oh, he's singing.
Sing it, Frankie.
Drawing some art today. The
Some of
art
my favorite
flow.
songs.
The art flow is strong. And they said, okay, Frank, why do you keep shutting out? You need a better camera or a better phone. But I got the brand new iPhone. Oh man,
That's awesome.
my wife. You know what? If she ever, I got a feeling if she ever like videotapes me, man, while I'm singing, because I sing, man, when I'm in the kitchen and preparing stuff like breakfast or something, and I start singing. Oh man, I'm gonna be in trouble. I sing the most craziest stuff in the world, man.
That's awesome.
Oh, I'm a nut. Oh, look at that, dude. Whole school, man. Look at that.
It's beautiful, man.
That's good.
That's nutty.
I dig it.
Oh, guys, man. All right, I'm gonna bless it. I'm just gonna sign my name, and I'm gonna bless it. I am officially done. Done deal. I'm gonna do this in red. Frankie B. That's another thing too. I remember when I was in art school, my teachers always were like, "You gotta sign your work, and it's gotta be something that people can identify." That was always a big thing. They said you should always have a symbol. If you're gonna do a symbol or something that people can immediately identify as you. And I was like, okay. And I've changed my FB. Like originally, I used to never use my B, my early stuff, but then I started playing around, and sometimes the B would get big, and it's FBW, or I started putting it in a box. Don't know why. Just seemed like the right thing to do. But anyway, there you go.
Beautiful piece, man.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you. And
Very
thanks for
cool.
hanging in. Hey, thanks for hanging in there. You guys have definitely motivated me to up my camera game. For
Yeah, keep
real.
yourself the camera, and then we'll have you back on.
Right on, right on. Yeah, yeah. I definitely want to come back on because I can tell you this: stuff's gonna be kicking up. As we're coming closer to the summer. Things are gonna be picking up. That's all. I'll say that right now. So I definitely will be giving you guys the heads up and be like, "Come on
Awesome.
now, redemption. We're gonna call it the redemption show."
Frankie B, the revenge.
Oh, thank you so much. I had a fantastic time. I actually enjoyed this.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on.
This is officially well, I think did I do another draw stream? I can't recall. I thought I did. I thought I did one with Rob.
I think you
don't
did
know.
with Rob once, yeah.
Yeah, I did, didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I
Well,
watched it.
yeah, he's always doing it at night. I'm like sleep. I'm in bed by 6 p.m. Serious. But anyway, this was fun. Say it again.
Oh,
Oh, just telling Justin to hold this up for the camera.
Oh
yeah,
yes.
yeah. Yes, I think it's done.
Awesome. Good job, man.
You know what we should do, guys? Is that maybe the next show we do like a I don't know, man. You want to try to do sketch cards?
We can do that.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's fun.
All right, cool. Let's try to do sketch cards, man. Yeah, man, that's awesome.
It came out
Do,
awesome.
now, do you guys do a theme? I mean, some of your I gotta look through some of your stuff, but the
Uh,
other ones.
Sometimes we do.
Yeah. So next time you guys did Kaju. So next time you set the theme.
All right.
All right. Be nice. No, I don't care. I honestly don't. I mean, yeah. The key thing as artists, you should be able to. I tell any artist, you should be able to draw anything.
Right. Yeah.
You should be. By any standards, no artist out there should not be able to draw anything. You should be able to draw anything in your style, of course.
Right.
But everything should be open. If you gotta draw a cowboy, draw a cowboy. You gotta draw a
Exactly.
warrior woman, draw a warrior woman. So anyway, I'm gonna leave it in you guys' capable hands, and you set the theme, and I'll be here.
All right, Frankie. Sounds
All
good.
right, right
Thanks
on,
for
right on.
joining us, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
man.
much. I had a fantastic time. Thank you.
All right, everybody, thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
This was
I'm out.
fun.
Take care.
Bye bye.